Good evening, everyone, and welcome to a race into the night here at Spa with the WTF1 3 hours of Spa. The main event, the big moment for multi-class racing on the brand new track. We just finished the support races. We had F3, Titus cars, and Porsche Cup cars right before this, and now it's time for the big multi-class event. My name is Tony Butler, and alongside I got Lewis McLeod. We're covering the entire night of great action, Lewis.
It should be great. If everything is going to continue as we've seen in the opening couple of races there, we have got a great day ahead of us, a great time of racing, multi-class, lots of big names, lots of big drivers. It's going to be fantastic.
And we'll also race into the night. That wasn't just me trying to come up with a cool phrase. It's actually what will happen tonight. So we have dynamic play of time, and we will run into the night. So that's another big challenge for our drivers. Talking about challenges for our drivers, the track that you see in the background, that's obviously the iconic venue of Spa-Francorchamps, one of the brand new tracks for rFactor 2. If you're not familiar with that, or not familiar with how Studio 397 does all of that, don't worry, we'll get into that. But quickly, let me get you an overview of what's actually happening tonight. So we got GTE class and LMP2. So it is a multi-class event across 3 hours. So Lewis and me called that during support races a kind of sprint endurance race-y thingy, I would say. And Lewis, there's some big names on the list, right?
Huge names, of course. You know, from the motorsport world, we've got in this, we've got drivers like Jenson Button and Andy Pierre, as you've said before. We've got from the top of sim racing, Jone Simoncic, Kuba Brzezinski. We've got Dennis Jordan, Yuri, Castor, Per Hanjovski. Whatever name you can think of at the top of rFactor 2, they are here taking part in this event. It may be for fun with no prizes, but my goodness me, we are in for a great race.
We definitely are. And before we jump into the qualification session, which just started a few minutes ago, I think it's the right time to introduce you guys to Alex, one of the track developer that we have at Studio 397, who's explaining to you tools and tricks how we actually get those tracks into the game. So here we go.
I'm Alex from Studio 397, and today I'm taking a look at the behind-the-scenes development of Spa-Francorchamps for rFactor 2. Spa takes advantage of our latest graphic developments, and we've paid particular attention into improving the lighting on the terrain and the vegetation, as well as added advanced blending options to allow us to recreate the cliff surfaces at Spa better, and also step forwards with how we visualize the racing line as it develops. One of the challenges we faced during the development of Spa was that we found that the point cloud that we were given actually was quite grainy and noisy, and we had to do a little bit of cleanup on that to get an immersive race surface out of it. It took several iterations really to find something that didn't end up with quite peculiar noise on the terrain, but in the end I think we got there, and at the end of the day I hope that pays off for everybody and really feeling the finer details on the terrain there. Improvements to the race groove blending came mostly through fine-tuning the texture used. Since we introduced the PBR developments, we have a two-stage blending of the logic. We made some tweaks to that blending logic, and also greatly improved the maps generated. Through the use of procedural skid mark generators, we were able to build up quite complex textures, such as the ones shown here. And we have an initial groove that blends in, then followed by a second one to offer variation into the coverage as the track evolves, as well as fine-tuning the levels so that the track looks correct and not overdone or overstrung during each stage of development. With the vegetation, we spent a lot of time making sure we had accurate tree species and types in there, and we spent a long time building up our asset library with a wide range of trees here. As you can see, there's over 33 different variations of trees used in the track, in addition to bushes and extra hedges and shrubbery, as well as unique ambient occlusion, specular occlusion, a leaf mask, and roughness data, all as well as normal maps, all allow the tree to have more immersive lighting.
It's a little insight of how we do tracks at Studio 397. A lot of Photoshop work, actually. Maybe I should get involved and get some nice stickers and some smileys on our tracks. Who knows? Right, Lewis, that would be a great feature. Would you want that?
Oh, I'd definitely sneak my logos in all over the place. The thing is, with track designers, is there this is the same thing with model creators of any description, is They are obviously a very creative bunch. I guarantee if you look hard enough, you'll find some special secrets hidden there in the I mean, you'd put some in, wouldn't you, Rene?
Definitely. I mean, I'm still arguing about a sticker.
Place.
I'm still arguing about a sticker at the sites where I crashed in real life on these racetracks. So I want my face there and say Rene was here. That would be cool. But let's get back into the actual event, the WTF1 Spa 3 Hours Invitational. As you can see on the schedule, we had the Titus F3 races. We had the Porsche Cup race. That was 2 sprint races. A lot of action there. If you missed that, head over to twitch.tv/rFactor live. And you can rewatch that VOD later. Definitely worth it. I had some great moments to warm us up for what is the main event of the evening, this multi-class action that we'll see here. They got 25 minutes of qualification, and then they will be on track for 3 hours, at least a minimum of 1 driver swap, because everyone brings in 2 drivers. Most of the teams have 3 as well, since they allowed 1 reserve driver. And it's a beautiful spotter guide right here, so you can find your favorite team, your favorite driver, and cheer for them. Let's quickly look at that. I mean, there is the Porsche 24 teams by Team Redline, basically. Rudy van Buren sits on the number 28 car, Kevin Siggy on the number 27 one, and Kevin Siggy is absolutely amazing driver. Then 2 BMW Works entries with Neil Verhagen and Alan Turzik, for example, on the number 30, and then Visser and Patel, Mohamed Patel, Bertsik Visser on the 31. Another one that might stand out, I have to say that Hamidovic and William Marsh. I mean, that is, we're talking about 2 YouTubers on 1 car, not even sure if they make it halfway through.
No bias there. No, I'm joking. We're going to get plenty of time, so don't worry. Don't worry. I will say on there, important note, at least from sim racing side, with Alan Terzic and Mohamed Patel, who have moved from they've moved from Jean Lacey Esports Academy over into that, and so they're going head to head with Jean Lacey Esports Academy in that GTE category. That's going to be pretty spicy. Look at the names
just signed with Bureau Zoo Competition, right?
Yes. So they've moved over to BS Competition, which obviously running BMW here. That's where kind of that whole link is working.
And then we also got the LMP2 class with very interesting entries. I mean, Yayovsky Nalsapti on the number 2, Roman Grosjean Esports car, for example. Jensen Button on the number 5, Gtr Esports with Jan von der Heide and Tony Mella, the 2 Sancho drivers there teaming up with the ex-world champion. Brzezinski and Wisniewski on the number 6 for Williams Esports Chill Blast will be a very, very strong car, at least in my opinion. Ronjak and Hoyer. Ronjak obviously coming off a win in the F3 support race, now with the number 7 Burst Esports in the LMP2 category. Andy Priot, his son, that should be Sebastian Priot, and it was correct, right?
No, good guess.
I was really afraid now. I was like, oh god, mix it up. And Ibrahim Khan, another Sancho driver, and Andy Priot, obviously, if you're interested in touring car driving, then you should know about that name. So plenty of big teams, plenty of big names trying to go for the first win on an official Spa event, because that's the first Studio 397 event where the new Spa-Francorchamps, the new track, is being used. Well, we see we're in the last 6.5 minutes of qualification. Currently, Varga Sim Racing is leading the LMP2 class and for the GTE cars, not really surprising, Rudy van Buren for Porsche 24.
Yeah, if I said this before coming into this, if you put Van Buren and Siggy into the same car, that was a slam dunk, easy victory. That said, they're not. They're with some other drivers and stuff, obviously, spreading it out and trying to get them both up the top end of the grid, and that's exactly what they're doing. Final lap there from the 1 ACO driver of Borja Milan, who gets up into 6th place. You said earlier that Kuba Brzezinski and Nikodem Wisniewski looking like a strong team. They're in 3rd place at the moment in LMP2, and that's kind of important. They are the Le Mans virtual winners. They were away from rFactor 2 for a little while, racing elsewhere in sim racing, have returned quite a lot in the recent past. Again, looking pretty strong. And here is a joint effort from 2 sim racing outfits that have been in sim racing for a long time, Jesus Motorsports Club and Satellite Racing, joining together here for a special event. How fitting.
Yeah, like the Satellite Racing is obviously also known from the GT Pro series, while we see the Drillers Esports LMP2, the Orica really diving into that turn, I would say. Your Name Racing here, a team known, I would say, from the P1 events. P1 LMS, for example, very strong on the GTEs. Obviously, the invites were based on many different factors like region. Is the team new? Should it be like have its chance to be highlighted? Did they win previous championships? For example, as your name here from P1, we also have the Butler Paul Motorsport LMP2, which is the champion from P1 LMS, the endurance series over there. So it's a mix between many different championships here, which will make it even more interesting to see who comes out on top.
And that's where you get an interesting grid, because you've got drivers from all over the place taking part. And like you say, there's so many different categories that see drivers onto the grid. I've noticed names I haven't seen for a little while. Ryan Elliott, Scott Simmons, who are the two teammates of the guy that's currently driving, being Jonathan Hoggard in the RSR car. That's a little bit down the LMP2 category, but they're actually very, very fast. Jonathan Hoggard raced in the Daytona 24 this year, I believe, for a Lamborghini, also taken part in various Formula 4 races in British Formula 4 over the last couple of years. Very strong driver, pretty quick in sim racing. Unfortunately, last in LMP2, but that just shows how strong this is. It's so incredibly potent, the pace of all these drivers, be it in LMP2 or GTE.
Yeah, I can't really decide which would be my favorite class in. We see, for example, Jack Keithley on the number 8 Marla Racing Team car. Jack Keithley is a name everyone out there should know when it comes to sim racing. Peter Bielak is saying he's really, really quick, still racing in the GT Pro Series. So the Marla Racing Team is here with a strong lineup. And then obviously the two typical Williams Esports names, I would say, when it comes to rFactor 2, Brzezinski and Wisniewski. Both with several wins in totally different championships and events.
Up to second they go as well, passing Yuri Simencic for Bicoles Burst Esports. A little bit of a shame there isn't more Bicoles on that, because I really like their livery in the Le Mans Virtual. Yuri Simencic teaming up with Dennis Jordan. No Alex Siebel here today, as he's I think he's a very busy man, is Alex Siebel. I think he's doing his Masters at the moment, so I don't think he has quite enough time. So I'm sure Simencic and Jordan will get along just fine. Success Esports here with Shirakawa Suzuki behind the wheel. I believe it's Suzuki the one qualifying, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. Goes to 19th in class. Not too bad. I'm sure they'll be all right with that. The GT category is separated by a bit more than the LMP2, it must be said.
Well, we saw Sedlacek going sideways there. I think that was and Ronjek and Hoyer both had been racing tonight already. Hoyer in the Porsche Cup support race, Ronjek the winner of the F3 support race. So they should be warmed up. And I wonder, it's one thing to be warmed up for the track. The other thing is either being already done for today, right? I mean, being exhausted. And the other thing is they now switching from completely different cars into this high-class Orica LMP2 weapon, basically, which is a completely different drive for them.
It's massively different. That's the thing. Dan Kell there goes up into 7th place as well. He's, as much as there's 3 drivers signed up to that car, leaving the final corner with a bit of a slide there. Love that livery, by the way. It's good to be a chicken house. The thing with Dan Kell doing the opening, he's got to do the opening 2 hours of the race, and he's only actually got one teammate because Matt Richards isn't actually taking part. Matt Richards and Cedar Vire are both taking part in the same race, which is happening right now. So Cedar Vire has to move from one car also into this, straight into the race. No qualifying late. He's just literally being thrown into this car, which I'm sure isn't easy.
No, it definitely isn't. And it's a Patel on 14th right now in GTE class. That means Shirakawa for Success Esports and Team RGPL with Alexei Kutsak are around them, but they're now up to 12th. And in front of them is actually number 36, John Laser Esports with Martin Durland. That's a name we'll read a lot when it comes to rFactor 2 events.
He's been in his fair few. I think a lot of these drivers have been in their fair few. They're not inexperienced drivers when it comes to the car, so I think that makes life a bit easier, doesn't it? When you're already experienced in the car and then you sort of get thrown into it, you're like, I already know what I'm doing. It's fine. The track, however, might be different.
It's one of the newly formed teams, I would say. They have at least they have a new logo. I remember that, which is lovely. I like that.
They are, yeah. They've definitely come up the scene in the sort of last 6 months, but they've all been together in other teams because they were a Sombic before, and sort of it's just been rebranded and changed. DX Droids now becoming a very strong team.
RAG Esports, a team, if you're watching the rFactor 2 GT Pro Series, you're very familiar with, because they basically tried to lock out the entire top 5. It didn't really work out last time. Castor, Yuri Castor, and Nuno Pinto, an ex-driver from AAA and also Butler Power Motorsport. So it's the third livery I'm seeing him in now. No, I saw him in a different livery before that as well. He was HM Engineering over the years. And a new entry to the world of rFactor 2. They also did a appearance in the British rFactor 2 Championship. Is Fortzilla, so the official Ford Esports team here with Lopez and Rodriguez, a Spanish team basically, trying the first major event, I would say, with the Fortzilla brand here.
Absolutely, and that livery, by the way, I am very much in favour of. I do like that livery there, the blue there, the striking orange on the side of it.
Could have been a bit more orange on the right. Look at that. I like the orange in there. Unfortunately, it's only on one side. Can we have more of that?
I quite like a slightly asymmetrical livery, though. I think there's something about spicing it up. Wow, look at this lap coming in from Kevin Siggy. He's not happy that he's being outpaced at the moment by world's fastest gamer of the first season, Rudy Van Buren. And Siggy, he's pushing hard. He wants to put one up.
Currently looking for, like, if there are any cars without a lap yet, because there are a few. Our Envision STS Sim Racing with Belaziotis, for example. I can't find lap 4 as of right now. And I also don't see Mike Chanel currently in 18th in GTE. That's the Scuderia Chicken House. I'm sure that people will love that name, because I do. And yeah, this is Hamidovic and William Marsh. So that's a full YouTuber team. Let's see how they do together. Sim Racing Paddock and Ermin Hamidovic. Sedlacek Polesny now into the top 10 with the Porsche 911 RSR GTE. It's a good starting point, I would say. Definitely not where they want to be during the race, because Varga Sim Racing, that's a powerhouse here as well.
They are. They've been super fast. In the last moments of the session, by the way, Brzezinski, that pole position going his way, that's a great lap at the end. Chinchik as well. We know his pace. Maybe the race consistency is the issue a little bit for Varga, but over a 3-hour race, the longer distance of it shouldn't be too much of an issue, and especially being teamed up with Visner and Yuri Toman, who is immensely fast himself.
So we got the result of the qualification. Williams Esports Chill Blast will start this 3-hour event tonight with Brzezinski and Wisniewski behind the wheel. Varga Sim Racing with Chinchik, Thomas and Wisner. And second, Bikerless Burst Esports with Jordan and Joni Simoncic. And third, then Gtr Esports. That is Jensen Button, Jan von der Heide, and Tony Meller on fourth. So that will be very interesting to see. Yayovsky and Alsapti, the big names from the rFactor 2 GT Pro Series, in fifth. And then Fortzilla also making it into sixth, right before Marla Racing Team. I love Race Director here. Big fan of that.
So the race start, we will do one lap on the as a formation lap, and you will drive approximately 100 kilometers an hour. I will follow the leader, and I might tell you guys to speed up. So that's why the race is 3 hours and 5 minutes. Single file all around the lap, and you get the green when you cross the start-finish line. This is a very short race from the start-finish line to turn 1, so please keep that in mind. Finally, good luck. Advancing in 30 seconds.
That was a long one from race director Jimmy Allison. I loved how he explained again that cars, by the way, are collidable in the pits. So that's a good hit. Let people know. While we quickly go into the GTE class, which will be led by Kevin Siggy and Van Splinteren in the Porsche 24 911, right in front of their teammates, Schuring and Van Buren on second. HM Engineering, they made third with Ferry Stanley behind the wheel, Ryan and Busk. Then Kirali, Dooner, not sim racing for Holland. These two, Kirali and Dooner, did a great job in the Porsche Cup support race. Do Satellite Racing fifth, Your Name Racing here sixth, and then Project One with Custom Willem, Ashara and Neuendorf in seventh, Sancho 8th, BMW 9th, and Varga Sim Racing in 10th.
Fantastic grid. I think we're in for an absolute thrilling race here, Rene.
We are, and before we actually send them on the track and get everyone racing, we have a quick look once again at Alex explaining us what they did on Spa, and then we're right back with the racing action. So don't worry, everyone gets on the grid. We're back in a sec.
And then as well, having the correct lighting in the materials is vitally important to make sure we get the right tree in the right place and the scale correct. Via use of the point cloud and tools such as Forest Pack, we're able to scale and choose each tree individually whilst maintaining a direct export method. This really allows us to iterate over the trees again and again and get things closer and closer. As you can see, build up tree lines as well in a similar fashion behind the initial first line of trees. A tool that we make strong use of these days is RailClone. RailClone allows us to procedurally build up assets with logic, and we can do quite advanced stuff which we'd spend a long time doing manually otherwise. An excellent example of this is Armco, whereby we can dynamically change the elements as we wish, control them, as well as generate LODs for the models, or even collision meshes very easily at a click of a button. It allows us to quickly iterate and update these assets, as well as building in logic for things like the change of number of elements, and also ensuring the end pieces are unique as well. However, to do this can often end up being quite complex, as the style editor for this Armco would show you. So we hope you enjoy the race, and hope you enjoy the track as well, and we look forward to bringing you whatever's next.
Thanks, Alex, one of the guys that are doing the tracks here at Studio 397, bringing you some insight to how it's done to actually bring those great locations alive. So let's get back into the grid, remind ourselves who's starting the race, and it is Williams, actually. Williams Esports Chill Blast that will start and open this 3-hour race in front of Varga Sim Racing, Bicyclist Burst Esports, and Gtr Esports with Jensen Button in fourth.
Then we've got the R8G Esports leading the third row with Fordzilla in behind. Marla, the sister team to Williams Esports, 1 Echo, start from 8th.
Burst Esports, the second car, Ronchek and Hoyer in 9th. Axel Sports was Aslan Nassi in 10th. It's, by the way, a beautiful livery. Really like that. The Roman Croissant Esports was Castor and Nuno Pinto, and I missed the 12th there. Very, very unfortunate for me.
Drillers Esports of Dan Brewer. Behind that would be Ibrahim Khan, who's currently driving the Prio Esports car. Then we've got Pescara in behind that. The Cetrez Nita Velix car, new sponsor for them, only starting in 15th place. Rookie Monsters start from 16th.
And then we've got Drillers Esports, Axel Sports, once again, Iron Vision STS Sim Racing, and DX Droids on 20th.
One of your cars, Butler Pout, starting in from the 21st position. Then we've got Team Spirit Racing. Won't be happy with 22nd. Speedy Might and Virtual Sim Racing start down at the back end of the grid. The last car on the grid, RSR in the LMP2 category.
And then obviously we're heading over to GTE, our second class, led by the 2 Porsche 24 by Team Redline cars with Kevin Siege van Splunteren, Rudy van Buren, Schuring, and then HM Engineering with first Ferry Stanley, who did the qualification there, and then Sim Racing for Holland.
Adam Baldwin, I think, is going to be the driver behind the wheel of the GSIS Satellite Racing crossover. Your Name Here Racing, Pfeiffer, oh no, it's Tump behind the wheel of that one. Then your boys, Zbigniew Shara, and Dan Kell starts from 8th for Zansho.
9th then is the BMW Works team. That's Ellen Turzek behind the wheel during the start. Michael Sattlerczyk for Varga Sim Racing. John Elise Esports with Jordy Swiss and Martin Dillon for the second John Elise entry.
DX Droids line up 13th place. Mohammed Patel for BMW as well behind that. Andrea Terzi and Masahiro Yamazaki drives for ADR Esports from 16th.
17th is then Scuderia Leona for Team RGPL, One Move Esports, and Mr. Fox Racing in the 20th. I thought that would be the case, but it wasn't, because it's actually Yuri Shirakara in 20th.
Certainly is. I think we had a little bit of a change up there. Driving from 21st place there, Mr. Fox, but then ESR, Foland, Scuderia Chicken House, keep an eye on that one. And then the team of the YouTubers, Butler Power Motorsports, your boys, starting from 24th.
I'm pretty sure that Hamidovic and Marsh just went for that due to the entertainment value. Talking about entertainment value, it will be Jakub Brzezinski who will start this race.
Wait until they cross the line.
Yeah. They'll do, and off we go into the 3-hour race. So Brzezinski, Borja, and Simičić are top 3 going through the source for the very first time, and it will be a defending slipstream tactics basically for Jakub Brzezinski here early on, unless he breaks away already in the very first corner.
Absolutely, that's the thing with separating the classes up just to have them start on the line means that we don't have any massively chaotic starts, but we do get a fantastic one underway. Here's the GTE category with the Porsche 24 by Team Redline drivers starting first and second, looking to run away with things over HME's Ferris Stanley in behind.
Yeah, they can really do those team tactics once again on the long stretch here with HM Engineering. They have Ferris Stanley. He is a very good driver, and he's known for good performance in endurance racing, even though this might be a very short endurance race, I would say, with only 3 hours, but it's still a longer race than a normal sprint one. So Brzezinski still in the lead for LMP, for Chinchik and Simičić, so that's Varga and Varga and Burst Esports, while we see Kevin Siggy already going alongside his own teammate.
Oh, Van Buren's there. He's in first place. Already made that one up. So Siggy only second place, already being passed on the first lap. Nice move there. Battling in the early stage of the race may not be so fortuitous, but I'm sure they'll be happy up front at the moment, running 1 and 2. Clean start in LMP2 as well was the Williams Esports Chill Blast car, currently leads from Varga Sim Racing and by Collins Burst Esports. But even though it is a shortened endurance race, being only 3 hours, the long game will still be king. Who are the masters of the long game in rFactor 2 endurance racing, at least in the LMP2 category? Well, that would be the drivers that are in third place by Collins Burst Esports, Yuri, Simičić, Dennis Jordan. Watch out for them when we get towards the checkered flag.
Definitely a team that has the chance here to reign supreme in the 3-hour event on Spa, our very first longer race on this new circuit. But we also see that Varga Sim Racing now is a lot closer than on lap number 1 to Williams Esports Chill Blast. So it seems like Brzezinski will need to defend latest up the hill of Rodillon. Then there's no chance for him to get away from the Varga Sim Racing guys here, because they are fairly quick. But look at the gap already they have in front of Bicycles Burst Esports.
Yeah, it's a huge gap. I will say, fast lap of the race finished to Erhan Yovsky, but I actually think it went to Marcel Chinchik, who, on the first lap of the race, picked up a track cut already in the race. That will not do the Varga Sim Racing driver too well. Yuri Simičić in behind this, defending from Jan van der Heide, and Erhan Yovsky, who set the fastest lap. So things are still closing up. Yellow flag out in Sector 1. Not sure who's causing that one, but pretty early for a yellow flag.
Yeah, I didn't saw anyone dropping in the standings yet. Also in the GTE group, it's still the 2 Porsche 24 cars leading, while we see Rookie Monsters against Driller Esports. I think there was small running white there already, losing the rear coming out of that chicane.
There's a huge crash at the back. There is a car massively in the wall with only 3 wheels. I don't think that's what's causing the yellow flag in Sector 1. I'm actually not sure what's doing it, because Mikhail Sedlacek, who is off at Blanchimont, which isn't a Sector 1, it's in Sector 3, but I think that might be what's causing the yellow flag to come up anyway.
Yeah, that car is toast, basically. There's a rear wing missing. Not really great on these GTE cars, because you want to get all the aerodynamics working as much as you can for you. So the Varga GTE entry will already pull into the pits, while we see the big fight here between Rookie Monsters, Driller Esports, and Axel Sports in the background. That is Mika Hakimi, the white car at the end of this group, and then Timothy Andonovsky in the Driller Esports cars here with the white, orange, and black.
There is also a little bit of a battle happening towards the back end of the top 10 in the GTE category as we catch a replay and see what's happening. This is on board with Sedlacek, and this is exactly what happened. So coming into Blanchimont, that is one of the Jean Lacey Esports Academy drivers. I think that might have been Jordi Zveers, maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, that is quite a contact. Not sure if it was, but that's not ideal.
I mean, you can lose the rear as well. We would need to see it from the back there if there was contact earlier or after the car started slipping away.
Mikhail Sedlacek is blocking pit lane, blocking pit lane entry. He's just sat in pit lane entry. That is not good. Here's another replay. This is on board with the DX Droids driver, as we can see what's happening ahead. There's the Jean Lacey Esports Academy driver to the inside. There was definite contact.
Oh, the Jean Lacey car lost it first.
Yeah, and clipped. Oh!
Whose Ferrari was that?
I think that might be one of the Wave. I'm not sure. I don't actually think they made too harsh a contact. there.
It was very unfortunate. I mean, that was side draft. Then we saw the Ferrari getting loose, and he probably, maybe even touched him front and rear. So unsettled the car like 2 times, basically, and then it was off and gone for the Porsche.
Apologies to Yuri, by the way. It was actually his teammate Martin Derlin who was the one that made contact, and it was Andrea Terzi who made contact with the DX driver, with the Vargas Racing driver, whilst they were spinning out. So that's not ideal. There you can see him pulling into the pit lane. Speaking of Yuri Spheres, by the way, he's got by Zibi up into 8th place at the moment, but having to defend hard for that 8th place in GTE. 33rd overall, battling, racing hard up towards Les Combes. The thing is with him at this moment is that he's battling as well with his ex-teammate. Oh, there's contact as well. There is contact as well. And I think that might be Alan Terzic off the road down in 10th place.
He was able to actually keep the car up there, but it is a hard battle that we see in the GTE category. Talking about GTE and missing parts while there's leading on a lazy car here right behind. That should be the Project 1 car. We're speaking of Shara behind the wheel right now, cutting a bit. The BPM Ferrari 488 lost his rear wing as well, so Ermin Hamidovic will have a quick pit stop, just like Michael Sedlacek, to get a new rear wing on the car. That will cost a lot of time, but this fight here, Terzic, Swears, Shara, and Martin Derland in the rear now with another Ferrari. That will go on for quite a while, I think, but we got Vargas Sim Racing now driving down to Williams Esports here. No chance yet to get involved in any fight there, not yet in striking distance in the LMP2 class, but it's nice to see that Williams Esports not able to run away early here.
Oh, this is on board. This is on board with Martin Derlin. And you can see Jordi Sveers. There's got Alan Terzic going around the outside there. The Team Project 1. There's the contact. Don't know if that was a bit of a pinch or Alan Terzic being a little bit too optimistic, but it sent him round. They were all right. They're all running in line and they're all still going. But still, some feisty racing down the back end of the top 10. As I was saying, between Jordi Sveers and Martin Derlin, who was Jean Lacey Esports Academies, their ex-teammate, up until a couple of days ago, Alan Terzic, is one of the drivers that they're battling with, which I'm sure causes a little bit of friction within the team. You never know. A bit of spice and crack, isn't it?
With esports racing, we're basically now like real life drama, right? People changing teams and contracts involved. So there's a huge world behind just the races that you see. So if you're really interested in everything that's going on in sim racing, then yeah, there's a ton of content to digest basically, and things going on. But I have to say, I fear that was Shara in the Project 1 car clipping the BMW Works entry, which led to this mix-up between those Ferraris, but they're trying once again both John Lazy Ferraris alongside the Project 1 now. The Porsche has to let them go for now. Speaking of Shara losing 2 positions to Swears and Derland, well, he's still lining up there. Look how close he gets immediately right after their overtaking. The Porsche is back on the rear diffuser of the Ferrari 488, maybe around the outside now. Martin Dillon trying to cover up the inside, but we see the BMW Works car already putting his nose in there as well, trying to get involved, flashing its light. So these guys, they will probably have action for the next 20 minutes if they keep going like that.
Oh, I think we've got action for a bit longer than 20 minutes between this lot. They are fighting so very hard. Literally for everything. This is those. So the Cure. Oh, this is with. Yeah, that was a bit of a pinch.
Yeah, you probably only saw the Ferrari in his rearview mirror. And
I don't think he expected to be having an extra dive in there. So I don't think he was looking for Terzic. And no one has fallen foul to that, and everyone's okay. So in my book, let's just keep going. I'm curious though, because with Sveers and Derlin, who were fighting quite hard between the two of them, I believe it was those two who were fighting for effectively one of the final positions to be in the Le Mans virtual race for AF Corsa, because they were doing like their own little in-house race stuff. And Jordi made a move I don't think he needed to make on Derlin, and that stopped Martin Derlin from actually being in the race. I think eventually things worked out, and Martin Derlin was eventually a part of the race, if I remember correctly. But regardless, that's a bit of a bit of hard fighting between the two of them.
New best lap time for Rudy van Buren in the GTE class. He took the lead from Kevin Siggy. So the two Porsche 24 entries still dominating the GTE class early on, but hey, it's just 10 minutes that went past, while Project 1 still has to defend against the BMWs at the 30 or the 31. Quickly look that up. It is actually Can't find it. I'm looking in the wrong class. It is the number...
Oh, that's a big crash. Oh my goodness me, Andrea Terzi. Oh, sorry to cut across you there. Did he hit the wall?
I think he didn't. I see the car. It still has a rear wing. That is a good start after you threw it away there. So the WTF1 Esports Ferraris looks like all parts are still on it, but he's now behind DX Droids, so down to 13th in class.
I don't think he hit the wall. I think he might have been close, but I don't think he did. That was a huge moment. This is on board with Andrea Terzi. Let's have ourselves a look. This is going to be terrifying. Too much curve. Oh, that's what sent him. Oh, he does hit the wall. Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, but better with the front end than trying that with the rear end.
Absolutely.
Because even if you have to pull on the bits, the car's probably way more stable than without the rear wing. So yeah. That will help. Well, we're back on board with Erhan Yayovsky, probably the guy that makes the most bucks on rFactor 2, I would say, right now. Very successful lately with his entries. And he's chasing Jan van der Heide, one of the Sancho drivers that this time is racing with the Rocket team. So that means they will later have Jensen Button behind the wheel. That's also his livery. If you're watching British Touring Car, not British Touring Car, British GT Championship, then you should be familiar with that livery.
Yeah, it's a great team and a great partnership between Sancho and JTR. One that's been in the works for a little while, and it looks like it's coming to full fruition and working together well. Obviously, they worked together at Le Mans Virtual. And Jan van der Heide was a member of that partnership and a big part of it as well. Looking pretty strong here. Jensen Button as well was mighty fast in other endurance stuff that I've seen him do. He was pretty quick in the practice build-up to the Le Mans Virtual, so he's no slouch in, as you'd expect, in this, as the Forzilla car nearly gets caught out there by one of the Ferraris. And this is the important bit with endurance racing, only 10 minutes in, and we are starting to hit little bits of traffic, just the slight pockets, but those pockets will be getting bigger and bigger as we close in on the front of the GTE field.
I absolutely love that. That's why I love multiclass, because there's action all over the track. And this is one move for esports, and we got reported that they probably had a fuel issue as they were dropping on power here on the straight. Look at that. All of a sudden, the car becomes a lot slower, getting overtaken by, that was Scuderia Leone on the left side that the Ferrari just passed. Did they run with qualification fuel?
Well, I mean, you're asking the right person when it comes to running out fuel in endurance racing.
I just ran out of fuel in another event.
I am a master of it. As to that, not 100% sure myself. Could be a potential pedal issue or anything like that, but yeah, it's a bit of a shame. The qualifying fuel, it could very much be a part of it, but even then, running a 13-minute tank in quali, or 10, even that's quite a big tank for quali. But it does sound fairly plausible. I will say, by the way, with the LMP2s, as much as we're only 15 minutes in the race, the important thing to note with the LMP2s is they've got the smallest tank of the two categories that they've got here. So their stints are going to be shorter. We're expecting them to last maybe 35, 40 minutes. It's quite a high fuel usage circuit.
There is a chance to extend that to 45 minutes, but then you really lose pace. And I guess we both expect more of a 3-hour sprint race in terms of the strategies we see here.
It's where strategy is going to be absolutely crucial, because you think of it this way, right? If you run 40-minute stints, you run 40 minutes, then an hour and 20, then 2 hours, then 2 hours 40, then you've got a splash at the end. If you can find a way of maybe even extending it to 45, that's a bit extreme, but you're trying to make that splash at the end as short as is humanly possible. And to be fair, if you are costing yourself time, look at how long the pit lane is around Spa. It's a long pit lane on this endurance format. So if you could save yourself a pit stop, that could be gold coming to the checkered flag. Look at the likes of Brzezinski and Cinczyk, though, who have pulled away from Yuri Simoncic at quite a rapid rate, 4 and a bit seconds already, as we're deep in the traffic there. My goodness me, I think Yovsky, who got by van der Heide, didn't really need to send it too much on the BMW there.
I just love those pictures, really. I adore multi-class racing just for that. That you have, as a driver, not just have to handle your own pace and people in similar cars and similar paces, but also cars that are completely different in terms of braking and the lines they're taking and acceleration and how much grip they actually produce, because obviously the LMP2 Orekas, they're aerodynamic, very aerodynamic heavy cars. And they're doing well, while we see Forzilla versus GTR GRT Racing, GTR by the way is correct, with Jan van der Heide in 5th, but it seems like Pablo Lopez, he can't go that speed of Jan van der Heide at the moment, and they're going through traffic while also fighting each other, now passing one of the BMW Works entries and coming around. There's a left-hander 90 degrees, there's a slight stretch, and then you get that very long left-hander 180 degrees, and you want to be as quick as possible, but the GTE traffic here is completely different in terms of line.
It's incredibly thick as well. You've got, obviously in practice they've been trying to work out and trying to keep with it as much as possible, with learning with traffic, and so they know how to do it in the race. But even still, when you get to the first ones in the race, they're always in much bigger packs, because when you're doing it in practice, you're coming across 1 or 2 drivers. When you're doing it in the race, you end up coming across the entire pack in one sort of single stream. Yellow flag back out in sector 1, not quite sure what that was for. Saw Borja Milan and Yuri Castor as well switching positions just behind this in 7th and 8th position, as Borja Milan is trying to defend off from the tall Dutchman. I think they're running towards Blanchimont now, and it was very close for for an attempted move there from Yuri Castor, but didn't do it in the end. It was a good defence, by the way, from Jan van der Heide, must be said, of Jetta Team Rocket Zancho, as basically just timed his run around the outside on the final part of Le Com, like basically to perfection. He did it very, very nicely. On board with Adam Maguire, I think he is the Super League champion of 2020 in GPWC. Certainly a strong driver, defending from Timotej Antonovsky, who got his maiden podium in the Virtual Endurance Championship in this car a few weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely. Dooner Esports making a lot of noises lately in the world of rFactor 2, which I absolutely love. They're big on social media. They're pushing a lot of good drivers here. Now they're in this fight for position 15 and 16 against Pescara ATP Autoteiler. That's actually a German company sponsoring these guys. On the straight now, he can obviously use that slipstream. There might be a chance for the inside. No, Maguire trying to cover that, but he still need to pass that forward.
Oh,
There's
no.
contact. Drillas itself smashing it into the wall so early on in the race here. Very unfortunate for Antonovsky. Oh, that was probably a bit too much risk there next to the Ferrari.
Yeah, sorry, I have to correct myself on the thing. I said Antonovsky was in this car. It was actually in a different car. It was in the centre, but regardless, still a very strong driver. That was not a pretty squeeze, it must be said, from Maguire, and I don't think Timotej Antonovsky will be particularly happy with the outcome of that event. Obviously, still try and keep going. I'm just curious and a bit fearful of how much damage is going to be on that car, because it was a fast hit into the barrier.
It definitely was. I mean, I was actually more afraid of the Ferrari there. I was pretty sure they were just bumping away, but then it was the Dooner Esports LMP2 that got over-rotated there and then smashed into the wall. And like I said, that early on in the race, let's see where they actually drop to. I'm currently trying to find them. They're on 17th right now, running in front of Axel Sports and DX Droids. That's Hakimi and Fernandez right behind them. But they seem to be a lot slower than the cars in the back. While we see Stefanko against Aslan here. And Aslan around the inside, great move, but there might be a chance for a return for Mahler Racing Team here. Aslan was shooting the corner, then nearly blocking the Porsche 24 911 there. Wow, it's a ton of action everywhere we're looking right now.
It's the way it is in the early stages of the race. There is just action left, right, and centre. Whoa, look at that. Oh, my goodness me. That is terrifying there. On board with Martin Derlin as we see some 3 wide ahead. It was Devin Browner in the Nita Velix Cetros car who scooted through first. And, oh, my goodness, what a lap for Martin Derlin. Getting passed by everyone in the LMP2 category. Quite terrifying at the top of Radion. And then having that into Le Com. He'd be sat there shaking his head thinking, can this not happen today?
Yeah, that was probably a ton of action for him, that's for sure. For Martin Derlin there in the GTE category. Borja Milan versus Yuri Castor. These two know each other from the GT Pro Series and several other rFactor 2 events, so that's not the first dance they're having. But it might be one of the biggest now. We see with the long shadows already, and sometimes when the trees are a bit closer, you see those long shadows because sun is coming down right now here at Spa. Said that before, we will race into the night, so it's not just the changing track conditions regarding grip level and multi-class traffic. Obviously, there will also be different lighting for these guys. So better not do the old school way of sim racing braking points, like I'll brake after the shadow, because that will not work with everything changing tonight.
So relatable.
Yes, we all did that.
So much.
We all
Especially
did that.
if you get in. if you get in the car, like I say, in that if you're not starting the race, because if you're starting the race and it's starting to set, you adjust your braking zone as the race goes on. So you kind of like, that's not there now. So you kind of work as you go along. Whereas if you're just thrown into it and your only practice has been in bright sunshine like this, even if you're just using normal brake markers, it might be lit. Obviously, because there's no sun, it's lit up differently. Whether there is a light on it or not, it's different. And maybe you don't quite pick up that was your brake marker that you've just flown by, 270k.
It is a different kind of challenge if you are in these changing environments, and it will look lovely once the sun comes down. I mean, it will look lovely for us, not that great for the drivers though. The sun right in their faces basically, but yeah, it's part of being a racing driver. And just quickly check the top three. So top three on LMP2 are still the same as we started. Williams Esports Chill Blast in front of Varga Sim Racing, and then Bikerless Burst Esports. Same for GTE with Porsche 24, and then HM Engineering. So will be interesting to see though, once they do the first driver changes, if they are on the same level, because with driver swaps in here, sometimes you see lineups with completely different drivers on them, and that can mix up the field quite a lot.
Absolutely. You're only as, what was it, the rule there to the general rule, you're only as strong as the weakest link. You're only as quick as your slowest driver in a sense, and so it's all about working as a team to get through the race in the fastest way possible. And in that sense, we do see some teams that are really, really strong now may not be strong when it comes later in the race, because you put in a different driver, maybe even your pro driver.
Oh,
for some
I just
teams.
see Project One versus DX Droid here. That is 8th position, and seems like both will go off into the wall. I'm quite surprised though. Where's this car coming from? There's David Scherer that got involved with, speaking of Scherer, but he wasn't listed at that position at that moment. That's what confuses me that much. But he must have won a lot of positions, but Scherer definitely not happy about the BMW squeezing in there, and then both probably clinching to each other, going into the wall. Hopefully there's not that much damage to both of them, because they let the BMW run away there. That was the second BMW Works entry. Well, we have that once again here in the replay.
Let's have a look. So there's the DX Droid car, sort of sending it down the inside into Lacom, and then on the exit of the corner. Oh, that is naughty. That's very, very naughty from Zibby. Don't like that. I know, I get it if the DX Droid driver had sent it at Lacom, but that... Oh, I get the feeling that Jimmy Allison may well be on his case about that one, because that was... Oh, yeah, no, I don't like to see that.
I wonder if that was really on... I have to say, it looks on purpose. That's the bad thing here, but we know that a million things can happen, but...
Contact could be a part of it, etc., yeah. Like, the way you move under when you're contacted, like maybe you've just been touched a little bit, and it doesn't look good, though.
It depends on if he was losing traction in the rear there or not.
Oh, yeah.
Because we obviously can't see that from here. First, I really have to say, it looks a bit like he let the car run wide on purpose, but I also was on the other side already being the driver, and everyone said, oh, that was on purpose, and I was like, hey, look at that replay, I did everything I could, but it didn't work out anymore. So you never know with this, so we'll wait for race director to look at that. You can obviously see all the inputs and then decide on that, while we're with Alan Turzik in the BMW, hunting down John Alesi Esports with Jordy Swears behind the wheel. And then it's the second John Alesi car right behind that BMW. So basically, John Alesi sandwich here for a 7, 8, and 9.
Absolutely, it's like I say, these have all been teammates pretty recently, and they all still are teammates because Alan Terzic will still continue to drive for John Alesi Esports over the final 2 rounds of the GT Challenge Series. So they'll still be, racing together and being a part of each other, and whatever. That's that. But in this, gloves are off. I must say, Timotej Antonovsky has retired from the race for Drillers Esports, so I think that damage might have been a little bit too much, so he'll drop his way down the order. Also, a big shout out to Lazarus Filiparkos, who is in the race, driving the Speedy Mike. Picked up a drive-through penalty, but it is a reminder to everyone that just because you're on a controller and you don't have a wheel, you can still take part in events like this, because he is Lord Controller Boy of the sim racing world, driving, and to be fair, 24th position in category is not really a fair position for him, because he is mighty fast, even on a controller. And I think his pace shows that you can fight decently well on a controller regardless.
It is mighty impressive. I mean, let's be honest here. Being able to run that pace on a controller, I couldn't do that. I mean, I couldn't probably even go through the main menu with a controller. Besides racing with it. But this is now Terzic finally getting a shot at Jordi Spears. See if the M8 GTE can actually make a move. Lost a bit of speed out of that chicane there. Already getting the momentum onto that straight, and we see how crucial that is. The Ferrari really good with the rear traction, obviously having the engine in the back against the BMW, which has the engine in the front. So completely different platforms fighting against each other, which is the great thing about GTE and GT3 cars.
Oh, Rudy Van Buren and Kevin Ziggy have switched positions, by the way, and they're still continuing to battle at the front end of this field. They've just switched back. HME Ferris Stanley is not far off the back, and that Corvette is pretty sharp in a straight line. I must say, in this battle, where we've got a lot of GT Challenge drivers, effectively, because there's 5 in a row. You've got Dan Kell, Yuri Zviers, Alan Terzic, Derlin, Mohamed Patel, who I don't actually think is doing GT Challenge anymore, but he's still done a little bit of the season. All of them GT Challenge drivers. Big shout out to Dan Kell at the front of that lot, considering where he is normally with the GT Challenge drivers. He's sort of there or thereabouts, but he's now ahead of all of them, doing pretty well in a car that he's getting a bit familiar with his racing in the Virtual Endurance Championship. So bit by bit, learning as he's going.
I mean, it just shows how big the skill is even in the GT Challenge Series, which is the feeder series for the big rFactor 2 GT Pro Series. You can only make it to the Pro Series if you actually be the front and grid one in the Challenge Series. And Challenge Series is an amazing grid to watch while we see Castor now against the Fortzilla, Pablo Lopez. Easy move here on the straight. Is there a chance for Fortzilla to maybe come back to that? But is that Borja Milan also coming very close on the braking now, trying to get involved into this fight here?
And the battle for the race lead in LMP2 as well was Brzezinski's defending from Marcel Chinchik. Vargasim Racing very much a part of this. It's super tight between the two of them, and it has been throughout the entire race, by the way. But they're a good 4.5 seconds clear of Yone Simic. Now, I've brought this up before, is that if you're, maybe new on the scene in rFactor 2, or, you've raced a little bit, etc., and you're pulling away, over half an hour, 5-6 seconds ahead of Yone Simic, I'm asking myself one question: here's the move between Siggy and Rudy Van Buren. So Siggy got through, and then I'm assuming Van Buren repassed him. Because it is Van Buren who is leading in the GT category. But if you're pulling away from Yone Simic, I'd ask myself one question: what am I doing wrong? Because we know how strong Yone Simic is, and I'd be like, oh, maybe he's saving more fuel. Maybe he's thinking I can maybe save myself a pit stop. And that's the concern at the moment, is that once the race has started and once you've done a few laps, you're already locked into whatever strategy you're running. Because in a 3-hour race, you can't afford to change strategy. There's no room for it. There's no wiggle room.
Yeah, that's the big issue. I mean, when we're talking about 24 hours and even the 12-hour races, right, there might be something happening during the race, changing your strategy because you had to do an early pit stop, you had to switch out a tire that you might have lost, or rear wing, right? Things happen. But in the 3-hour race, it's still about strategy, but you have to commit to it from the get-go. And after that, there's absolutely nothing for you to do anymore. If it doesn't work out because you did a mistake or lost a rear wing, then yeah, not much for you to do to actually win that back and get back into your strategy window.
This is not the same replay, by the way. Getting that note from broadcast director Ruben Carrera-Alvarez. That was not the same replay. So they've switched positions on one lap, they've switched positions back on the next one. Now the thing is with that, with them working together, with them fighting hard, is they're effectively using the slipstream to gain even more speed, because they're not losing out by doing that, because no one's lifting to let the other one through. They're full throttle at all times, which adds up to the same kind of lap time, but they're slipstreaming past each other and constantly switching. It's why they're so strong, and it's why the Porsche 24 with Team Redline are a massively strong outfit. How they will be after a driver swap, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I mean, we now have two of the strongest rFactor 2 drivers in the world, I would say. Kevin Siggy currently not in the lead of GT Pro, but he's also the only BMW entry against basically a grid full of Corvette GT3s, and he's still able to bring that BMW onto the podium, into the top 5 every single time, no matter the track we're visiting. So he is one of the best in the world, and Rudy van Boren, who basically turned his sim racing career and karting into real life racing and also dominating still in sim racing. So these two guys, not surprising that they lead, but can their teammates actually live up to the pace that these two are going right now? Because not many people can.
Those two have a certain attribute that does not apply to many drivers, which is regardless of simulator, of car they're in, whether it's endurance racing, sprint racing, doesn't matter. They are always fast. They are always towards the front. They're always on the very limit. And that doesn't apply to many drivers because some drivers are only really fast in, so for example, the content we have here, but you put them in something else and they're maybe not so fast. I think we're going to have a change for the race lead, by the way, because just walked a little bit through traffic. I think Kuba Brzezinski is under an awful lot of pressure from Marcel Chinchik up towards Les Combes. Oh, it's not going to be enough for Chinchik. Going to have to get back in line. Was not far enough alongside. That was quite well judged there from Kuba Brzezinski, because he sort of lifted out before he got to the GTE Porsche and then went for it.
I mean, I love that he's already in the lead for 16 laps now. I would have thought with all the slipstream available that Varga Sim Racing will find a way to at least be in the lead once, but so far, Jakub Brzezinski complete control of this 3-hour start in the first half an hour that now passed. So good job there by Williams Esports Chilbass, that's for sure. Also by Varga to be able to chase that closely without making a big mistake yet.
Of course, a reminder that Brzezinski and Wisniewski were part of the lineup alongside Rebellion that ended up winning the Le Mans Virtual, so they know how to win at the very top level in this car, and this is what we love. It's a fun event, but how strong the teams are. And yes, with the two races that we had before this, the two build-up races, were a little bit messy, a little bit dicey, a little bit dirty. This has not been. This has been very, very good so far in the opening half hour, and I think it is set to continue. We are closing in though on the area where we're expecting to see those LMP2 pit stops. I was told it was maybe between 17, 18, 19 laps where the LMP2s will go, which is kind of expected. It's a very high fuel circuit around here. You're on throttle for so long. It's such a high-speed track. So we're expecting some pit stops now, and that is where the race is going to really light up in the PT category.
Yeah, it will be. We're back with Stefanko and Aslan. These two, we're basically fighting for the last 15 minutes. And now that they hit heavy traffic once again, we all know how it is. So you really have to strategize your approach to get through these cars. Like, which corner do you really want to run into them? Where do you want to make a move? You don't want to squeeze them. We saw how that ended up with the Gtr Esports LMP2 being shut down, basically, after squeezing through a Ferrari 488. So it is a lot for a driver to get accustomed to and to work out to really be quick on such a race, because there are just so many challenges along the way.
Just seen, by the way, posted in chat the reason why we've not got, because we were wondering where they were, the WTF1 car with Matt Gallagher, obviously, the main thing. Not here because he mixed up times. That is easily done. I thought it started an hour later, and I think we can all collectively say in sim racing that we have been there probably once or twice.
Pretty sure about that one. I mean, everyone out there.
I think I've shown up once a day early to a race. That was very good. I showed up and I was like, when are we getting racing? That was tomorrow. I was like, oh.
Really?
Yeah.
I managed once to show up at university on Sunday.
Oh, nice.
I'm
Very
so
good.
confused.
I do always hope that I have that when I go into work, that I'll go in there, oh, you're not working today. Oh,
better you go on Sunday than you end up with starting a week on Tuesday. You have to explain why you hadn't been before.
Exactly. By the way, whilst you're in traffic and whilst tyres are wearing and stuff like that, of course, maybe some will double stint and stuff with the pit stops and stuff. The lap times have absolutely fallen off a cliff, as we'd expect. In LMP2, Brzezinski and Chinchik both into the pit lane. They did a 2:04.7 and a 2:04.7 on the previous lap, bearing in mind the fast laps of the race are 2:01.0s. Interesting they're coming in that early by Coles Burst Esports to the lead of the race. Then they were closing in that gap on Williams Esports, Chill Blast, and Varga. JTR Esports, RHG Esports, all in Fordzilla. Oh, Rene, this is a busy pit lane.
Yeah, it is super busy pit lane, but it also shows now the differences in strategies with RHG Esports and Bicycle still being out there, not pulling into the pits at the same time. That will be very, very interesting. We need to remind ourselves of these cars later on then, because that is a major difference when we run towards the end of this 3-hour race.
Huge difference, absolutely huge. The thing is if you're coming in for a splash and dash, it may not make too much of a difference when you're pitting, and I'll get into that the later we get into the splash and dash. So don't panic. The thing is with pitting this early, it is an interesting call, but you know, maybe it'll work out, because a 40-minute stint in a 3-hour race is a really awkward number because it doesn't fit in to a 3-hour strategy. If the race was an hour longer, if it was a 4-hour race, then you'd be seeing them all pitting at 40 minutes because it works in that environment. But a 3-hour race this is why it's perfect. It's because it's just awkward enough that it causes people to think outside the box. So pitting this early may work. Going longer may work. We will only find out in about 2 hours and 24 minutes. Maybe if we're smart, 2 hours and 20.
Yeah, we could figure out priority.
Brzezinski penalty. A penalty for Kuba Brzezinski. That'll be pit lane. That'll be speeding. And our previous race leader, they have jumped massively on. That must have been a huge penalty for Yuri Castor as well. RHG Esports picking one up. Oh my goodness.
That was just the first time that I had to actually pull into the pits. With that, probably throwing away the lead here, for at least for now, for Williams Esports Chill Blast after all the pits. So obviously they're currently not in the lead, 10th coming out of the pits, but that will be huge for both of them, especially also Yuri Castor up there picking up another one. Let's see if we actually get that in the replay. That is Jakub Brzezinski coming out of the pits. Yeah, he's done with his pit stop already. It's a very, very long pit lane, obviously. And on the left, that is pit exit. You can go. So what happened there?
He must have sped.
Has he overshot this one? No.
I think he must have sped coming into pit lane. I don't know. That's weird. Or potentially. Oh, I wonder if you can. Oh, I know what it is.
What is it?
You can speed coming downhill. If you're off throttle. This is something that I saw Sancho
you're not running into the limiter then.
This is something that Sancho tested, and I remember seeing it. They are not running into the limiter coming down the hill because they need to be on throttle. If I have got a driver, if I'm a GTE team manager right now, I am reminding my drivers, be on throttle coming down the hill.
Yeah, it makes total sense. Obviously, such a limiter is always limited to the refs you go in, and you can't really do that out of gear. So car needs to be in gear.
Dimmy also told me that they had a 152 km/h pit entry, so it'll be that then.
That's quite. I mean, we saw them pulling in, and I was wondering why Williams was so much quicker and better with braking into the pit lane than the Varga sim racing car. But no one explains it because the Varga sim racing car actually had the right speed limit when they went over the line, while the Williams car was shot it.
I still think it explains the other drive-throughs because there's still been plenty. I don't think everyone has sped in pit lane, although it is quite a tricky pit lane entry. It's very, very narrow. I remember in Season 8 of the Virtual Endurance Championship, Kieran Parkin, driving the car that Jimmy Broadbent drove that season, ended up going into pit lane and turned in a little bit too early and did the classic Austin Powers on the pit lane entry as he went to 90 degrees perfectly in the pit lane entry and couldn't move. It was amazing. Here we go then. We can see what's going on. You can see the speed. I wish I could draw on the screen, but it's just on the top right of the steering wheel, or bottom right of the steering wheel. 150. Boom. There we go. 150.
Speed cameras right at Spa. Catching that. Yeah, that was way too late to get down to the 60 there. And yeah, that's how you make it a bit more exciting for yourself because you're not in the lead anymore after the pit stops. So that is something to keep in mind. Maybe we should update people out there a bit regarding some of the, like we're talking a lot about the big sim racing teams because mostly they are very successful in the first 40 minutes by now, but let's quickly look at the real life entries that we have. One of them is GTR Esports, which is the team of Jensen Button from the British Championship. Currently in 5th with Jan van der Heijden, so there's a sim racer behind the wheel for them right now. I think they did not... No, they pitted so far. Yep, they are. So that's 5th after the first round of pit stops for them. Let's quickly look which car was the one of Andy Priaulx.
The Zancho. Oh, I see. It's Priaulx Racing, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it should be. That's why I'm currently looking for them. Where they are.
Ibrahim Khan is behind the wheel at the moment. They're in 14th at the moment, Gtr Esports.
Oh yeah, I see them. Yep, there we go. Also after pit stops, so they started 13th, they lost one position then, 14th. So Andy Priaulx and his son Sebastian Priaulx together with Ibrahim Khan. That's another big name there. Let's see. And I mean, Porsche 24 is a real entry. They have real-life drivers as well. Rudy van Buren and Kevin Siggy are behind the wheel currently there. Although I have to say,
61, 62, 63. Oh my goodness! There you go. Look at that. Is he too quick? Yeah, way too quick.
Oh, he really tried to be quick. He tried. I have to say though, you saw that now in that replay, we saw this basically doubled up endurance pit lane. And on my very first real-life race at Spa, I did the same mistake. Luckily, no one saw it. So I went out of the first pit, got around Las Orzes. I was sitting in a Porsche Cayman with GT4 kit. And I speed down, and then that moment I realized, wait, I can't leave the pits here. There's another pit lane coming up. And I had like 100 whatever already on the speedo. And then I had to brake really, really hard right in front of one of the officials there. And I was like, hopefully no one saw that, because that was qualification session. Well, and guess what? I got away without a penalty.
It's one of the things, like in real life, in general, and in some other simulators and stuff, a lot of places you have your pit lane done on timing loops. It's not like an overall speed in the pit lane. It's well, I guess it is in a sense, but you have timing loops. So it's every such and such, like every 20 meters you have a timing loop, and you need to be under this time within that period, etc. So it's very boring. The thing is though, in something like rFactor 2 and in a lot of what is becoming modern motorsport, it's not done on timing loops, because it's an easy way of doing it. It's done on just whatever speed you hit. So if you go over 60 in this scenario, regardless of how much you slam on the brakes, how much slower than 60 you go, you're getting a penalty.
Yes.
Because you've passed that point, you've passed that threshold.
Oh, it was quite interesting. I also saw someone asking in the chat. I'm trying to have a quick look every now and then in the chat. The update on the second Porsche 24 entry with Kevin Siggy, who's without a rear wing in the pits right now. That's why he dropped that half, because I saw him on 9th and I was really surprised, and he's now already down to 19th. So I'm really surprised what happened there. Maybe we can catch that in a replay, because they obviously Porsche 24 were in first and second previously. Also, the Speedy Might Racing LMP2 currently listed 35th
big damage.
overall.
It's big damage. It is done, and that is on the racing line as well. I think Jimmy Allison might just pull a code 60 here if he can do so, because that is dodgy, and it's right in the middle of traffic as well, coming through Pouhon. 37th place they're currently running. As we see the battle for 6th, we're actually about to come up to that Speedy Mike car. He's just on the exit of Pouhon. He's being very, very smart here, because he's actually sat on the limiter now, keeping control of the car.
We are coming to a code 80 in 10 seconds. Remember, that's pit limiter. That's in
we get
5,
our first code 80.
4,
Code 80.
3, 2, 1. Code 80 enforced.
All right, it is probably due to exactly this car we have on camera right now, the Speedy Mike Racing with Filipakos, because it is in the way of everyone, basically. I mean, even under 80, it seems to be a real problem to keep a car on the track.
He is currently 90 degrees left-hand lock.
Yeah.
Trying to look at that, and he's on the controller as well. So big shout out. That's pretty impressive. Let's see how he did that. Oh no, this is with Kevin Siggy. Ooh, right. So he's got the Scuderia Chicken House car ahead. Takes a little bit too much grass. Maybe he's a little bit too aggressive here. Oh, there's an LMP2 Fordzilla. There we go. That was a bit of a shocking moment. Not sure if that was Fordzilla's to blame or whether it was Siggy drifting up on the racetrack. It was a little bit touch and go going around the outside there, but
It's always hard with cars with such different speeds, especially on those high-speed corners. And to also have the overview, then you might think, oh, they're not going for it, and then all of a sudden the car's there already. So that was very unfortunate for Kevin Siggy, who wanted to pass. I think he wanted to lap the Scuderia Chicken House car, which was the darker. Yeah, that's the darker. What is that? Is that the Aston Martin GTE?
It is indeed, yeah.
Yes, that he wanted to pass, and yeah, very unfortunately for Kevin Siggy. Definitely a car that we expected to run for the not overall win, but run for the win in GTE.
Look at P6. Oh, this is the interesting bit, is drivers, because we're under a code 80, which is actually a code 60 because we're 60 kilometers now, not 80. The interesting thing is drivers that haven't pitted yet, so in the GTE category, a lot of drivers are yet to pit. Jean Lacey Esports Academy, one of their cars has already been into the pit lane to take an early bit of fuel. Now, that's an interesting call because there's a lot of drivers, by the way, coming in the GT category. You can see them. It's an interesting call because, yes, you save on this stop, but you end up having to make another stop because the pit lane, Geordie's veers with a penalty. You end up having to make another stop because the tank for a GTE is an hour long, and it's a 3-hour race, so you're undercutting by a good 15 minutes. Is it the smartest move?
We're coming back to green in 10 seconds.
It will be interesting now that they actually come back and we see that the DX BMW is still in. Yuri Castor coming in. We hear the countdown to go back to race pace. So it is currently Chinchik for Borja Sim Racing now leading the overall category in front of Bikerless Burst Esport and then RAG Esports. And then now on fourth, since they won one position, is Jan van der Heide and the Gtr Esports team with Jensen Button. So they're coming closer to the top three, to a podium position at least for now, but we still have over 2 hours to go. So quite a lot of racing action still to come. And the GTE, I would say it's open now again because we don't know yet how quick Rudy van Buren's teammate will be, right? So Ferry Stanley of HM Engineering is still close to that car. There's not much between them. The Corvette GTE. So we might see a new fight there for the lead of GTE once we get the driver's swaps.
I will say those penalties from Kuba Brzezinski and Yuri Castor are so costly because even though they served part of them under the code 80, Kuba Brzezinski is now, he had a stop and go because of how fast his speeding was. He is down in 16th place. Yuri Castor 19th. Those are massive penalties in such a short race. You can't come back from that, really.
It will be very hard. I mean, you can have a sort of a comeback, but really going for the win, that's not really happening.
Ooh.
Well, that was close.
That's where Philip Arkos had his crash and coming through on that. Whew.
Oh, once again, Chinchik for Varga going through Project 1 and the John Alesi Ferrari at the same time. Look at that. That's right in front of Terzic here, where we're on board with. It's still, speaking of Shara, is now losing out against the John Alesi Ferrari. And with that, getting hunted down with the BMW M8 up next.
So it wasn't Jordi who pitted then as whoa, that was divey down the inside. Maybe made that one work. No, actually, no, maybe Jordi did pit. I think a lot of drivers have been into the pit lane, so potentially Jordi was one of them. Actually, based on where he's moved position-wise last year, that is absolutely the case. So already been into the pit lane to serve his first stop, running through Region Radion. Again, bit of a moment there from Shara, and there's the position gone to Alan Terzic.
Seems like the Porsche really off pace by now. Look at that straight line speed. So the BMW way quicker here.
They've not taken tyres.
That is Jan van der Heide now with the LMP2 Orica in the background of these GTEs. So he has to go through them next. See what happens.
Yeah, they've not. None of the GTEs that have pitted, I say none of them, most of the GTEs that would have pitted won't have taken tyres in this scenario. They would have only taken fuel and we'll do the double stint because tyres around here is not too bad. Oh, lovely. Do you know what would look better on that? Ruben knows what it is. Slow-mo. The patented
slow motion there.
Ruben Carrera Albert slow-mo.
It should be a built-in feature in the next version of the UI. I think the
Absolutely.
Reuben feature where you can get everything in slow motion and an automatical shot, which is based on Reuben's preferences from all the championships before.
I think
Like
on
randomly.
I think on Ruben's birthday we need to change the name. There we go. Oh, what a broadcast director. That's lovely. It would change the slow-mo feature, the slow-mo button in the controls. Just change the name of that to the Ruben Carrera Alves button.
Yeah, but if we do that, there's a huge problem because then someone will ask for the mute button to be renamed to my name.
That's true.
Because I'm the one that muted himself on the broadcast. So yeah, I'm not sure if we want to do that. After that, people not watching our broadcast can't even navigate through rFactor 2 anymore because every button will be named after someone.
Oh, I mean, yeah, it'd make things interesting. Oh, speaking of making things interesting, Fordzilla trying to get back on it and coming back through the order. Oh, that's nearly a bit of a squeeze there from Pablo Lopez on Maximilian Dent.
Yeah, Maximilian, a really good driver coming new into, let's say, mainstream sim racing, I would say. Someone that was hanging around the racing environment for quite a long time. Really talented driver. But I think he's lacking a bit of experience on these multi-class racing environments, at least right now. But I also have to say I didn't watch all the events. And look at how busy it is once again on Cal Straight. There are cars everywhere. Borja Milan right in front of Martin Stefanko. And who's in front of them there? That is Jan von der Heide.
Sorry, did I just see that Yuri Castor got another penalty in the top left of my screen? I think I did. He's been naughty, but that's a lovely cutback, by the way. Axel Motorsports, Nikita Aslan. It was another penalty for Yuri Castor as well. They got by Borja Milan on what we just saw and up into 6th place. And I think Kuba Brzezinski has another penalty.
And they're really trying to gather a lot of them now. It's like it's not like you win more with more penalties. Just to make that clear.
Rule, here we go. Jimmy Allison on the case. Rule 15.11. Drivers are not allowed to serve any penalties under the Code 80 period. Now, the interesting thing with that is that they'd already... they haven't served all of their penalty under the Code 80, right? So they've been given another one. They were still in the pit lane when the race had restarted. So that cost them time. But that's almost pointless time cost because now they've just been cost even more time than they would have done if they'd have just taken the penalty under green flag racing. So it's effectively, it is the penalties being reapplied and then the extra bonus of having a naughty ball penalty on top of that. Oh my goodness me. That is
especially with
hard.
such a long pit lane.
Yeah,
that's the big thing here, right? It costs you a lot of time at Spa if you have to run through the pit lane again. We saw that on one of the onboards. It's the double one here for the endurance layout. We'll be on board with the Mahler Racing team starting a new lap. By the way, which lap are we actually on? Is that... Let me quickly check it because we had the first pit stops around 16, 17. We're now on lap 25 for the leading Vargas Sim Racing car, but Stefanko now with the attack against Borja Milan around the outside. Milan trying to cover up the inside. Does that actually work? No, Stefanko stepping back under braking, doesn't really want to risk being too late into that corner. Overshooting it because there's obviously a car following behind that Waveframe Esports Ferrari. So he has to be aware of that as well. But it was a first sign, I would say, towards Borja Milan here.
Absolutely, he could definitely get through. I think Nikita Aslan just ran a little bit wide at the corner with no name. You were saying about with Maximilian Den, by the way, about coming up and maybe not doing too much endurance racing and or multi-class racing rather. Sorry, the thing with that is, and it is the sort of like the only bit of advice that you can give to someone who's new to multi-class racing is Mohamed Patel's going to get down the inside of Yamazaki, going down to Ravage. Nice move, pretty easily done on the exit of Les Combes. The only bit of advice that I can give is the only way to get better at multi-class racing is to do it. There is no other way because it's not something you can practice realistically. You can do your little bits, but like I said earlier, is when you come across, if you're in like a higher class, when you come across a car in practice, you're coming across one, maybe two, whereas in the race you come across battle packs, and there is a way of dealing with that as a driver that you can't learn from practice. You have to just sort of do it, and the more you do it, the better you'll be at it.
Definitely. It's also your understanding for the other class and the other driver.
Absolutely.
I mean, you need to know how they might react, what they want to do, because normally, most series, it's up to you in the quicker car to make a move around them, even if they stay on the ideal line, because they're slower cars, way easier for you to make the pass, right? Even if you have to go offline for that. And it is something that is an art in itself, like being quick in traffic conditions, especially like the shorter the track is, the harder it gets, because you run into so many packs, and you don't want to get involved with a fight for the lead on a different class, for example, because these guys will obviously go at each other like 100%, and you're just trying to pass there and have your race.
Absolutely. Throwback to the old days, as we see the Zanso Simsport driver applying pressure, or that's him being unlapped, because that is Kevin Siggy trying to get by on Dan Kell. These two have raced before in the GPVWC International Touring Cup, although this battle's a little bit different. Dan, yeah, just don't fight him, mate. Just let him go, because he's a lap down at the moment, is Siggy. When it comes to your thing of battling through traffic in the higher class, it's there are some drivers that are good at it and some drivers that aren't so good at it. When we were racing back in season 8 of the Virtual Endurance Championship, I was part of Doug Henson Racing, and Stephen Bailey and Lars Brugman were both extremely good at traffic. They maybe weren't as fast as Kubosinski, Nikodem Wisniewski, and Pash Gergis, who were our main rivals in the championship. They may not have been as fast over a lap, but in traffic, my goodness me, Bailey was very, very good back in the day through traffic. And that's where you make up a race win, maybe even a championship.
Definitely, it's a huge factor in all of this. Well, we're back with the John Alese Esports Ferraris. They're in a formation flight basically the entire time, I have to say. It should be Jordy Swears still on the number, what is it actually?
37.
But it is 37, yeah, and 36 in front, which Martin Dillon is currently driving. And it seems like they're getting a bit closer. They're 6 and 7. Let's see, there's the Sancho Simsport right in front of him. I have to say, although Sancho is a team that is basically getting highlighted in every single competition out there right now, because there are a lot of drivers, a lot of good and really fast drivers. We didn't saw them too much today, because so far they had a very quiet first hour.
Into the pit lane, Jordy Swears. Whether that's to serve a penalty, I don't think he's been assigned one. But he's considering he's already pitted, I'd assume so. Was flying there with Dillon, as you say. The thing with them is that those two, and this is the same thing with a lot of teams, is particularly the main sim racing teams like John Alese Esports, like Zancho. I think Juice of Satellite will also be a part of that. Plenty of other examples, sim racing Holland, is that when they pass off to their second driver in air quotes, they're normally just as fast. Whereas there are some drivers, like we said this before, that are bringing in a pro, maybe even a special driver in, that maybe doesn't quite have the speed and that grit and determination and the consistency that the sim drivers bring to the table. You say about Zancho flying under the radar in this race. Dan Kell has just done very, very well. He's just driving by himself at the moment. You can see him there in 5th place, about 6 seconds off the back of Adam Baldwin, and a good way clear of Martin Dolan. But he and the top 5 did not take fuel under the code 80. They stayed out. So this is going to really chop and change the GTE category when some of the other drivers come in.
And talking about Sancho, they're currently getting squeezed by 2 LMPs. I saw that on the other camera. It looked quite interesting. Coming out of Sector 2. But we're with Marla Racing Team and Stefanko. They still have Jack Keithley that can enter the car. They got Peter Bielak, so they have 2 big names basically sitting on the bench right now, waiting for their chance to jump into this Orica LMP2 car. So there's still a lot of skill and power, I would say, to bring this car further up the grid. Currently in 7th, right behind 1ACO and Axel Sports, with Driller Esports behind them. I have to say, Driller, that's the car that we saw crashing earlier. They're still in 8th.
A different Drillers. There's
that's
two of them. Yes,
that's the Driller
I
one.
I was wondering that. Yes, the Andonovsky was the one behind the wheel of the car.
DNF
that's retired.
actually.
Yeah.
That was
a
my
race
mistake,
lead, by the way. race lead's closing up in LMP2. Cinchic's coming under pressure from Yuri Simoncic. Of course, I realise now as we're riding on board with, I'm assuming it's RG Felton's behind the wheel at the moment, who's destined for his way up into the top split of GT Challenge in a couple of weeks' time after doing very well in Split 2. We've all got cars in this race, haven't we? Because part of the Zancho ones, we've got your Balapan Motorsport ones, and then obviously Ruben's got Scuderia Leone. So we've all got Pete's bits in this. We're not biased. He says.
No, you spotted. That's it. Done.
But it's even bias now, so it's fine.
That's totally fine. Yamazaki for ADR Esports against, that should be a Scuderia Leone.
Yeah.
Pretty easy pass here on the straight, getting to slow down that Corvette. Worked out quite well.
Right as well. There was a bit of damage on the front right of that Corvette as well for ADR Esports.
Yeah,
a position change.
Got the Hagen and Terzic. The 30 BMW there, a bit sideways. Derlin probably thought already, oh, that might be a chance if he's throwing the car away now. I'll get back 6th position, but it's not easy. But look at the atmosphere we have now. Like, we see the sun is lower and lower.
Lights
As we
coming
obviously come in later with 2 hours remaining in the race. Thanks, Tower, for reminding us. And with that, the haze and everything changing, shadows getting even longer now, fully across the track here, actually.
This is, and it always has been, and it's been improved on all the time. Every time, like, you go through it. And I remember when we were doing them on virtuals that I couldn't. You know, it looks good at this time. I couldn't. It looked so good. The later we get into the race, when it gets to that sun setting, there is just something about it that just looks absolutely perfect, and it really does look quite incredible. And so as the sun sets, it will look better and better and better. So at least it's something pretty for the drivers to go through. I once saw, here's the slides from Alan Terzic, lovely stuff. I watched Terzic drive a NASCAR, of all things, a Cup Series car around the Nordschleife not too long ago, and out of every corner he was basically drifting. It was about 45 degrees of lock every corner, and he was just constantly sliding and saving it. So he's been practicing in that environment, at least for this. The teammate, the joint outfit of Juice's Satellite Racing then into the pit lane as we see the GTEs, the rest of them come into the pit lane. Those that haven't already been in under that code 60, they'll be coming in to serve now. And this, like I said, with the LMP2 category, with how everything sort of got spiced up with the different sort of stink lengths, now we've got the code 60 that's really just lit up the GTE category. This is going to be a mess until the checkered flag now. I don't know which side I'd want to be on.
I like that there are a few uncertainties now. Like in the beginning, when we saw both of the Porsche 24 cars leaving everyone in the dust, basically, I wasn't sure like what will happen with the category, but it only took half an hour basically to throw everything around. So it will be very interesting to see how that will progress in these last remaining 2 hours. And if Rudy van Buren can actually hold on to the lead, won't be easy, that's for sure, especially now with Dan Callan being in second. But you said already they didn't took any fuel during the code 60. And if you wonder, the race director said code 80, it's because Jimmy Ellis is obviously very used to the Virtual Endurance Championship where it's code 80. And if you're trying to handle all of that, then sometimes that slips. I mean, we know that from commentary as well, right?
Oh,
sometimes,
too many times.
Yeah, you just come around with the wrong title, so even that can happen. And now we're on board with Rookie Monsters against Virtual Sim Racing. And look how close they are through Blanchimont. There might be a chance now if he goes for the inside, not covering up from Virtual Sim Racing. That should be an easy pass. He had no way for him to go around that again. And with that, winning one position.
Yeah, nice move there. Speaking of nice moves, there's one from the Marla Racing team car on Monaco at Lecom. Nice work there from Martin Stefanko. I think Borja Milan has got something to say about that, almost throwing it down the inside of the revives. Nice move from Mantas Rikas, the Lithuanian, closing in on the back of Jonathan Hoggard. And with all of that, with everything that's happened in LMP2, Hoggard in RSR will last in LMP2 where they started. They're currently running in 16th, running in the mid-pack in LMP2. So the ex-British Formula 4 race winner, multiple race winner, moving that car forward and clearly having the consistency and pace. Ryan Elliott's more of their sort of sim racing driver. That said, Jonathan Hoggard is extremely fast in sim racing. So I think that's kind of 50-50 between the two of them. Could still be quite a good car, although I've not seen Ryan Elliott in endurance racing or multi-class racing too much. The last time I remember racing him was in touring cars. It didn't go very well.
It just shows like how many different ways you can approach such a race and with the RSR car, right? I mean, the qualification wasn't great, but showing consistency on track, keeping your car out of trouble, especially the longer the races are, right? If we go from 3 hours to the 6-hour events, 12-hour, 24 hours that we'll have here at rFactor 2, you can win a lot by just keeping the car on track and keeping clean. This is Borja Milan looking onto Stefanko, if I remember that correctly, the Milan racing team. Oh, that was a small bump between them. And Borja Milan, I think he lost the position there. Yeah, he had to stay behind the Milan racing team. Quite surprised that you saw how quick he all of a sudden became around the apex there.
It was quite a move there from Stefanko, who's committed. We'll give him that. Yeah, I didn't think there was contact until that. We didn't quite catch that from TV, but just a little bit. As we see our race leaders going very, very close by Dooner Esports applying pressure to Varga Sim Racing, and a good 2 and a bit seconds back. R8GL also not too far away. If this lot will battle, everything will close up. You say about the 3-hour race, the thing is that I'd say is that in a 3-hour race you have no position to make mistakes because it's such a short race that if you make a mistake you'll literally cost everything. Here are your current runners. How much will this change, Renault, when it comes to the end of the race?
Yeah, this is the current standings after a bit more than 1.5 hours now. No, actually,
just over an hour.
2 hours. 1 hour. Man, I'm so confused already since we're talking about so many different race lengths now. We're totally lost that this is a 3-hour race. So obviously after the first hour, and we see that the BMW of Neil Verhagen and Alan Turzik is currently in the lead in GTE, but that's because they just had another round of pit stops. So where is the, let's see, where's the Porsche 24 entry? Where is Rudy van Buren?
Van Buren is great.
It did change. More assuring, 6th position. That is the car of Rudy van Buren. So now we actually get to see how quick the second driver is.
We'll keep an eye on those lap times with a watchful eye. Of course, the top 5 in the GT category that had already stopped. It is important to note, yes, of course, they've already stopped. But remember one thing, is that on their pit stop, they won't have taken as much fuel on as everyone that has just stopped on the previous going to the pit lane. So effectively, they were obviously going to take the lead because their pit stop was automatically shorter by taking on less fuel. So that's really thrown everything into the fray, but it obviously means they've got to put more fuel in to get to the checkered flag, which is why they are going to have to make an extra pit stop over everyone else. Whether they've gained enough to do so and not lose too much time is a question which will not be answered right now. And our focus will then go on to what some of the co-drivers do inside the car. I think Maurice Schuring's about to come across the line to finish first lap behind the Porsche 24 car. So still leaving the pit lane, so it's a 2:51. Definitely not that slow.
No, definitely not. It's a good lap time to start. Talking about good lap times, Marshall Chinchik is still leading for Varga Sim Racing in LMP2, so that's overall in front of Johnny Simoncic, who gets closer while they now go through traffic. So they're now running actually in the Porsche 911 and then the 488 up next. It will be very interesting to watch. While we're on board with Dennis Dooner, he was winning the Porsche Cup support race, if I remember correctly, for sim racing for Holland, and now up into 8th in front of Kevin Ryan. And there is another car that they will overtake there. That is Team RGPL with Alexei Kutsak in there. And then Kevin Ryan will probably get involved in this fight as well. Kevin Ryan, wasn't he in the first GT Pro season? No, that was only his teammate. No, only Ferris Stanley was in back then.
He used to drive for Simtech back in the day, did Kevin Ryan, and was actually mighty fast back then. So it's interesting that he's found a home in HME, a team which has taken on quite a lot of drivers in the last sort of 12 months, and they're looking stronger because of it, must be said.
Yeah, they're doing the right moves, probably picking up the right drivers. That's basically another skill you need to have in sim racing. Trying to scout talent. But is Kevin Ryan now also going through? Seems like Team RGPL are not really up to the pace that everyone around them is going. Look at Dennis. Far ahead he is already. Wonder if that's down to damage or just them currently not really running that quick on the tires here in this race. Because they can't see if they have pitted again. Quickly see when we expand that if they had a lap. Or we have Martin Dillon in the pits.
So this is the second pit stop for
Yes.
Derlin, which I think he's just trying to get ahead of the fact they've got to take a second stop. He is taking tyres, and I think he is passing on to his teammate Castor Stolzer, which will make things a little bit interesting towards the end of the race. So they're going to be in for a long stop now to change fuel tyres and driver as well. How that'll play into it, we'll wait and see. I think Casper's Mighty Fires, again, this is what I said about John Lacey Esports, is once they've passed off to their second driver, their second driver's mighty quick anyway. I remember with Alan Terzic's teammate Nova Hagen, who is obviously raced BMW. I think it's BMW M2s in real life, being a BMW driver and various other things.
You mean Neil Verhagen?
Yes.
Yeah, he's one of the BMW
Proper
juniors. They relocated to the Nürburgring here while they practiced for their entry into the 24-hour race this year, and they raced several BMW cars. Also the new M2 Cup car here, yeah. Struggled
in that like in sim racing, struggled in the M2.
Sim Cup, yep.
Yeah. Whether that will apply in this, because this is a wildly different car, and I think a lot of people have struggled in that M2. So, I still have faith, and I know Alan Terzich is actually quite a good teacher in that sense.
It definitely is. I mean, he knows how to operate such a car, and as you said, the M2 way more loose in the rear. And there's huge difference between these aerodynamic cars in the GTE category and an M2 Cup car, which is the successor to the M240i Cup car that was also running in NLS and VLN here in Germany, for example. So these cars not heavily rely on aerodynamics at all. It's pure power, and they're great to throw around. A lot of fun in these Cup cars, but they are different. Talking about something that's different, we're actually joined now by Alex. If you wonder, which Alex is he talking about? I'm talking about exactly the guy that we had in our previous videos, showing you guys how track work at Studio 397 looks like. So he's one of the guys behind this beautiful track we're currently racing on. Alex, welcome.
Hi there, thanks.
Tell me, that must be the first question. How is it to actually look at the track that you worked on for so long now here in this first official event?
Well, I mean, I can definitely say that after the Le Mans event, that was truly something amazing to work on Le Mans and then see the event of that nature. So great. But then, also this as well, to see Jensen Button and such big names on here. Is great. Absolutely perfect. Yep.
I mean, I'm happy because normally when you talk to people that created something, they start off with, yeah, it looks good, but I just spotted X, Y, Z, and now I think I should have really done that differently. But no, you can be proud of that. That's for sure. Beautiful scenery that we have currently on the track while we see Kevin Siggy fighting against Casper Stolzer. That's John Lazy versus Porsche 24 again. So that's, as you see, Team Redline supported in the GTE class. Alex, we saw so many different tools that you guys are using to get the groove done. Tell me, since many people sometimes out there think most of the track work nowadays is automatic generated. We all know it from other games, right? Where you can basically generate most of the environment. How much really hard, individual work is a track nowadays? Is everything this handmade?
Well, I mean, it's a balance of the tools that you have available to you. The way development has gone has changed over time. I've been doing this for 15 years now, and there's many people who've been doing it for much longer, and it's just a constantly evolving game. You can now do a lot more with doing less, which is great, to be honest, because you don't want to be painting every single individual pixel at the end of the day. So yeah, I mean, it is still a lot of handwork, but then there are developments to tools which make things easier for you. So instead of worrying about like the stuff that I demoed with the Armco and whatnot, you can do a lot more now with your time than you could do in the past, because it doesn't really make it one click. It just means you end up using a lot more of your time to be an artist, really, rather than worrying about doing the basics. So yeah, it's all the way video game development has gone. It's about using the artist's time more usefully, instead of worrying about reinventing the wheel every time. You're able to do more with your time, basically, if you don't worry about reinventing the wheel, basically, I guess is a reasonable analogy.
You said that there's more time to be an artist, basically, on this track. Can you give me an example of what part of track creating is it where you can decide for a balance? I know that's a huge topic always for us internally in the studio, right? When it comes about balancing either color, saturation, even how the tarmac looks like. Where can you get really creative, and where then do we start all these discussion about balancing?
Yeah, balance is a never-ending game. I can't tell you how well. Le Mans is probably the track that I've spent most time on here at Studio 397, and yeah, that's something that I've been through about 500 iterations. You just keep on going it, and you come back the next morning and you think, oh my god, like, what was I thinking? Or you're never quite happy. You can never quite achieve that perfection that you're seeking for at the end of the day. And it's just a constantly evolving process. Just micro changes here and there, even that people who are a little bit more distant from the project, I'm not sure if they really notice them. Sometimes it can be quite frustrating, but yeah, I mean, the Spa is ultimately the product of work that we did on those previous tracks, because we're constantly building up better and better assets and better props, and expanding the work we have, and then it's something to build on each time. So Spa wouldn't be look as good as it did if we hadn't spent so much time on the Nürburgring and Le Mans and all those other tracks, with all the recent improvements we brought over the last little while, last couple of years, really. So yeah, it's just a matter of fine tuning over and over and over, really, and just you see that little extra thing you can take, and then you take it. Bit like trying to drive the fastest lap, I guess.
You were talking about obviously recreating real life, and we probably should touch on the topic then that we sometimes have a slightly different view of what we expect to be real life when it comes to scenery and grooves on the track, for example, or even lighting. Is that a constant challenge? Because let's be honest here, we're used to Hollywood and AAA game titles and all that have beautiful sightseeing, basically. But if we would put that one-to-one with real life at that moment, it doesn't really look that romantic and that great. How do you handle that?
Well, I think real life can look extremely romantic. I think the problem is, yeah, I guess when you see a film, you can replay that film and you can watch it over and over again and see how those things are. But when you get out in the real world, and you look at, I mean, you just look at how trees reflect light, or how the road reflects light, or how bright the road really gets on a really bright sunny day, for example. You just need to really pay attention to those fine details, and it can be difficult to obviously try to recreate all those, but it's something you keep on going for.
Do you want to tell me it's never that the reality doesn't look as cool as we would expect it in the sim?
Yeah. Give us a few more years and then maybe we can say that.
Let's actually end up on the note on you mentioned so many other tracks that obviously worked on at the studio. We had Le Mans before, we released Nürburgring, right? There was a recent update to Nürburgring, but there's another one coming up, and then there was also an update for Portland, and another not yet mentioned update coming to one of the other tracks. What's happening there? Like, what's happening to the Nürburgring, which got a big update already, but now it gets another one? And I have to say, since I see the internal discussion, obviously, between your team, and see all the screenshots, man, it looks great.
Yeah, well, actually, the majority of the Nürburgring before it was done was done before Spa, and then it's just this. The way we set things up is we set it up so that we can reuse quite a lot of the information So as we find a better balance, or as we improve things going forward, we can very quickly and easily backport it to the past projects we've worked on. So yeah, we can, for every little game we find at Spa, and there was some new code developments that we implemented for Spa. We can very quickly go back there and add those onto Nürburgring, for example, with minimal effort, really. And just trying to find that. I mean, yeah, make sure the green hell is truly the green hell, and looking as splendid as it can do, really. Yeah, and yeah, we have Indianapolis coming as well. So we've got quite a lot going on.
So many updates to existing tracks. I have to say, I really like that because it gets us all on the same level everywhere, and good-looking racing. Talking about good-looking racing, that's Thrillers Esports, the second car against one ACO, and it seems like Thrillers will not be able to keep 15th position here. And said now Barclay behind the wheel instead of Borja Milan there, but they're losing the position. Alex, when you could change one thing on one of our tracks, what would it be? Alex sitting there like, that's it.
One thing on one track.
Yeah, one specific thing. If you could do whatever you want, what thing would you change on one of our tracks?
Yeah, I'd clearly put the teleport only option that I know halfway around Nürburgring, so that I can beat everybody. Yeah.
That's an interesting one. All right. With that, racing gets a lot easier. That's for sure, especially on that long track. Alex, thanks for joining us tonight. I know that you're supposed to be off today, so I really appreciate that you take the time, come around here, talk to us, and I wish you a great evening. And thanks for all your work on these beautiful tracks.
No problem. I hope the race continues as well as it's been going on so far.
Otherwise, we'll just blame you. Easy.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's how we roll, right? I mean, sometimes it's good to just be a community, just blame someone. That always works. Let's get back into the race. We see Sancho versus Your Name here. I love that because it's easy to spot which car it is with delivery each time. Dan Kell going through the inside. Very nice maneuver here. Beautiful overtaking for Sancho, currently in 33rd overall, yeah. And 10th in class on GTE. Let's quickly see what changed while we were talking. We have Erhan Yojovski now in the lead for Spa-Francorchamps Esports in front of Fortzilla and Milan Racing Team on LMP2. And then GTE, we have still number 30 BMW, Alan Terzic, and then the second works BMW, Mohamed Patel in second. To me, Luz, it looks like BMW decided to replace Porsche 24.
At the moment is the big thing. We're not even halfway through this race yet, and things are chopping and changing. We've had some of the GT category come in for their next pit stop. Obviously, when we saw earlier in the race, just before you went to the interview, I think it was Kevin Sicki and Casper Stolzer that were battling it out. They were battling it out a lap down whilst they'd passed over driving duty from to Casper Stolzer from Martin Derland. So this is where, like, this whole part of the race, when all the drivers are swapping, we've got the LMP2 category where everything's chopping and changing. Oh my goodness me! Oh, Erhan Yojovski. I would say take a bow, but that is hella embarrassing. Oh my goodness. A crash on pit lane entry. That's going to give him some damage. I don't think he's going to be able to switch off. This could be a long pit stop for the Macedonian. That's not good for Erhan Yojovski and their chances of winning here for RAG Esports. Not ideal.
Poor man with that experience as well, right? I mean, no one can say it never happened to them in a real race, like as in a competitive race, because I definitely can't say that about me. I did that once as well. I actually crashed into pits. Sometimes it's just a bit too quick, and that's what happened to Yojovski here. I mean, he came very hot out of the chicane and then decided to pull into the pits. So it wasn't an easy entry in general. So let's see how much time he lost. I mean, he should still be in the lead while we're with Heiko Kolvenbach right now. That's the car that won P1 LMS, so a different endurance championship in rFactor 2, which is why they got invited. Him and Noah Roivers are on that car, currently in 9th. They started way further down, right? They started 21st. Let's see where they are after the pit stop.
Also, for all the WTF1 fans joining us here in the Spa 3-hour Invitational, you might want to take a look P number 6 on the road. There's a name that might be slightly familiar to you. Only a 2009 F1 world champion, Jenson Button behind the wheel, taking over from Jan van der Heide in the Gtr Esports with Zancho. So, nice to see him driving around. Obviously drove in the Le Mans Virtual not too long ago. And Jan van der Heide, who is a very strong driver. Nick Dealey as well, running things behind the scenes for Zancho Simsport, has been massively helpful to a lot of the pro drivers coming into it, the likes of Andy Priaulx and Seb Priaulx as well, and of course with Jenson Button and plenty of others, on getting them up to speed with some of the sim drivers. Done a great job as part of that. Where they'll be at the end of the race, well, Erhan Yovsky is out of pit lane and running around in the lead of the race. The damage doesn't seem to be too bad for him.
I want to check right now the time, because it's Jenson Button's first moment in the car now. So I think when did they pit? They pit at lap 35.
He's pitted. They've pitted recently, yeah. So he's got
Yes.
his car. So it's like his first couple of time laps.
But he's not slow at all.
Straight onto speed, 2:02.6,
Yes,
which is impressive.
That's 1 second off fastest lap time right now. Oh no, Vargas Sim Racing is down to 2 minutes flat. But still, I mean, Jenson Button with that lap time, he did another 2:03 now on the previous lap. It's mighty impressive. Like, really doing a good job here with the car and showcasing that he is up to speed with everyone else.
Yeah, he's driven this car a little bit, like I say. This was the exact car that he drove at Le Mans Virtual, so he's kind of up to speed with this car. He's actually being caught out by a car ahead that's going to be going a lap down. This is just ahead of this, seeing them jumping through shot. Oh, actually, I know what's going on here on replay, I think.
Are we?
I think so. I was wondering why my in-game footage isn't syncing up with what we're seeing on screen. I think we're on... I think we're back in time. Sorry, mate. I should have pointed that out to Ruben in a slightly better way. Sorry. There we go.
Throwing him under the bus.
Yes, it's from... Yeah, it's fine. It's because we went to the second review. It's fine. Either way, Yovsky leading the way from Stefanko and Toman. Our point still stands on Jenson Button being a little bit balked by traffic. We're on board with Seb Priaulx, or... No, we're on board with Liam Deval trying to attack Seb Priaulx.
See how we can do here in the defensive mode, basically, against Liam DeWall. But Sebastian Priaulx, let's be honest here. You're coming from a racing heritage family. You're young, then you're probably into sim racing already. So it's basically everything that helps you to be quick in one person.
Yeah, absolutely. It's it is a thing. Dan Kell on the pit. Oh, Dan Kell out of the race. Zancho Simsport out of the race in GTE. What has happened? He was running up in the top 5, and that car is done. Oh, it's a crash at Radion. I was going to say a Rouge then, but then I know that everyone would have kicked off in chat. Oh, he's done a Dennis Lind.
Dennis Lind's in the chat,
no.
just saying.
I know he is, but Dennis will feel for this. Oh, Danny boy. That is a shame. I'm sure we'll try and get ourselves a replay, but I'm not sure what Ruben could throw together in the short period of time. But that is a huge shame for Zancho, running quite well as well in this.
Oh, one of the DX Droids BMW running very wide with a whole group of LMP2s pushing through. That is Heiko Kolvenbach, or probably now Noah Roivers on that car, right? Let's quickly check, because also Nuno Pinto now behind the wheel of number 16 Romain Grosjean car. And that is 789. Let's see, that's still Heiko Kolvenbach on the number 18. So the car in front of Martin Hemmingsen from Gtr Esports now around the outside. That was very tight. They're both touched on the apex, and the Driller's car being sent wide, but he should be able to come back. Yeah, great use of the runoff here. And it seems like Heiko pulled over to let him pass, I think he's looking.
Well, in all of that, so to talk through, I don't know if we're going to get a replay. Let's have a look at this one. This might be the Dan Kell one. Prepare yourself, Dennis Lind, if you're watching. Don't look away now. Straight up over a Rouge, bit of a slide, straight on. Oh, he hits that barrier instead, but it's not pretty. It's easily done, though. Just bottomed out a little bit there, and away they go. No handing over to Cedo Via, who's just joined the TeamSpeak server as well. So unfortunately, that one's done. The incident between Heiko Kolberback and Ricardo Costa, Martin Hemmingsen, was really on Kolberback. He sort of overcooked into Lecon, and then hit Ricardo Costa as well.
Not sure there, to be honest.
Oh no, it was absolutely on Kolberback. He hit the back of Costa, and that's what.
We don't know yet how much input Hemmingsen had regarding going to the inside of that turn, right? Because you still have to be aware of a car on the inside, no matter if you slightly overcook it or not.
I'm looking at it in game. It is completely uncomfortable.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. No,
okay.
Sorry. No,
it's fine.
I'm not trying to throw your guys under the bus.
Man, don't worry about that.
The thing is, what I will say is huge respect to Kolberback for letting him go back through, because that doesn't happen often. And I think people need to learn from that in sim racing. That is not a pretty crash.
No, not at all. I mean, that hurts
but
from
Ruben
even looking
loves
at
it. Ruben absolutely loves it.
He will give us that crash the next hour, basically. Every single time in a different camera.
We've not seen it in slow-mo yet, but I think 4 might be a little bit overboard. Here's Hemmingsen making a move on the rookie monsters.
That's Mantis Records behind
nice
the wheel.
Cutback.
Wow.
Bravo.
We see some great maneuvers here, really. It's like, I love that. And we have to say, of course, we had some context here and there, and you will never see fully clean racing unless people are not trying anymore, and then we don't need to go racing, to be honest. But the respect between the drivers so far is really good. I like that. It's like everyone is racing hard, but they still try their best to make sure that everyone can have their race and not ending each and every race for someone else there.
You can talk us through this one. I want to see your opinion.
Look at that. Oh! I didn't saw they actually hit Costa before.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate. So Ricardo Costa very slow on the apex, basically. Kolbenbach being a bit quicker with the entry as he was defending against Hemmingsen. Touching the back of Costa. Due to that, obviously the car doesn't turn in, as you can't turn while you're leaning onto an object, right? So he hits Hemmingsen into the side, and Hemmingsen goes wide. Luckily, catches the emergency exit, basically, and then comes back behind the chicane. But that was a very unfortunate chain of events, I would say. Let's see that again from Hemmingsen here. So both in the slipstream of Costa, braking. Let's be honest here, both would have run into Costa.
They would both. They were both messing that one up.
That was unfortunate.
Speaking of not making the corner, I think that was that the Pescara car running through? I think it might well have been. Or it might have been Kuba Brzezinski running through at the final chicane. It's easily done, because the thing is, when you're racing each other into a chicane, you're trying to be like, oh, I'll brake as late as they do, and then, it doesn't go well. Oh, it was the Pescara car, just overdid it.
Yeah, Liam the Wall. He was fighting against Priol before, right? Yep, on the previous one.
It doesn't help that everyone's living is white and blue. At least you've added red, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's something to differentiate. But you got the Williams car, which is blue. Penalty for Seb Priaulx. Not quite sure what that was for, whether that was done assigned by in race. But I don't think he was going through a corner at that point. It was assigned through the game, which means it has come from Jimmy Allison. So a penalty then to Seb Priaulx. Not quite sure what it was for. Potentially a squeeze.
Very unfortunate for them. I mean, they're running in 12th position right now. They start in 13th, so they did a good job there. That is Michi Hoyer now, the, as you said, inaugural season champion of the GT Challenge season. So season 1, that was the previous one. Currently on 12th, on 11th, and then Priaulx, Brzezinski, and then Liam the Wall. The car's a bit further down, so let's see how Brzezinski actually gets through this. I mean, that car should be in the top 3 normally, but it isn't right now. At least it gets a fight against Priaulx. That's pretty cool. Not everyone can say that about themselves. Axel Sports go a bit hot into the chicane there. Let's give back the position, though, because I think he wanted not really fair there.
You could say it wasn't fair. It's an interesting way of making an overtake, running a completely different circuit. For that Axel Motorsports car, not going too well. For the other one, up in 6th place, running very, very well for Axel Sports. So nice stuff from them. Got a message. It was for spinning Mickey Hoyer was the penalty that Seb Prio has. So that's why that's gone that way. Rookie Monsters then, still battling with one Echo through Radion again. I think this has gone on a few times. There's been an attempt from Ricardo Costa to get by Mantis Ricus, and we run into Lecom. He's on the outside. Now let's see if we can make the apexes this time. We do indeed. Nice move from Ricardo Costa. Nice cut back though from Mantis Ricus, trying to go around the outside of the final part. Oh, there's the touch of contact, squeezing him out wide. Whoa. That was the second part of that was less clean.
Well, still both cars survived, and I have to say during chicane that was very clean. Like both drivers were very aware of the car around them, so I like that. Well, I'll see the Williams car with Brzezinski is once again in the pits, so leaving right now. Let's see if they can do that with just 60 on the dashboard, which will be the important part. Yajowski still in the lead in front of Martin Stefanko with the Mahler Racing team. Then it's Vargas Sim Racing with Yuri Toman. As of right now, they have to go through traffic. Let's go back to John Alazy, Team RGPL, and then the Porsche 24 entry with Kevin Siggy behind the wheel. So Kevin Siggy, he lost the rear wing on this first stint, which is why the car is so far back. And the other Porsche 27 is currently in 5th with Morris Schuring. So Rudy van Buren was the start driver there. Now it's Morris Schuring behind the wheel. Doing fairly well, although I have to say, Porsche 24 will not be happy about losing a double lead, basically, to BMW.
Oh, slide from Kevin Ryan. Oh, and into the corner with no name. And no, they won't be happy with that at all. But it's the early days of the race. I say early days of the race. It certainly isn't. We've passed the halfway point. Most certainly not the early days of the race. I will just question Devon Browner, who is down the order at the moment. He is in 23rd in the LMP2 class for Cetra's Nita Velux. Not what they wanted with new sponsors on board, and I don't know what's happened to them, but they are way down than where they would have expected. They're going to pass the night car over to Rory McDuff not too long. There's the HME car out of the race. And also wanted to say, one of the new features in RF2 with the new UI that I think we both like is the you've got on the live time, on the timing you get in game, you get a little graph that shows you the current position where they've been in the race. Looking at Williams Esports Chill Blast, it's first for the entirety and then absolutely rockets down to last place in class. They're currently running in 13th. It is not the race that they wanted.
Now you ruined it. I thought that lets us look smart and everyone thinks we can actually remember all of that. And now you spoil it and tell them that is part of the new UI and that's why we know. That wasn't smart news.
Who? What?
Who? Yeah.
Yeah, no, what? No. Well, thanks for coming. It's fine.
Yeah.
Move on.
No
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a dive. There was contact as well.
Is that the leading BMW in GTE? No, it isn't.
Second
It's Mohamed Patel, the second one. That is the number 31 BMW, and that was very close there between the two LMP2s passing, the Axel Sport, and that the car in front of that is, let's see, where's the Axel car on the board? 14, 15, that is the, it's not the RSR, it's the Team Spirit racing car, yeah, with Janssen Lehing in 14th right now. They were both battling while passing that BMW, and that's what I love, like these battles between classes while they still handle traffic. And we got Juan Carlos Fernandez on 22nd right now, which is really second to last with Devon Browner being 23rd, against Nikolai Wisniewski. The Williams Esports car you were talking before, that has been first once again around the outside, but it should be done before the braking zone. Yeah, Wisniewski stepping back there. Oh, that's the Jensen Button car getting involved there. Wow, did Carlos just try to make a move on both cars because they're not even the same lap?
No, indeed not. This is the thing, is they're all over the place really at the moment, and this is the point of coming through traffic and stuff. And when it comes to blue flags and stuff, they're more of a warning to be like, there's a faster car. If you're in a GT category, you don't have to get out of the way if it's an LMP2 coming through. You do have to abide, at least I've not fully gone through the rule book when it comes to blue flags in this scenario, whether it applies in the same way. But you would assume that LMP2 drivers, when they get a blue flag, they have to give it to an LMP2 driver. So it applies in class, but not overall. So a bit scary there for Jensen Button throwing it in the deep end. But I will just say I got a message suggesting what happened to the Nita Velix, the Citrus Nita Velix car, which was there was contact between them and, awkwardly enough, the Sean Lacey Esports Academy GTE category. We don't know how it happened, what happened, etc., etc. But the amusing thing with that, or not amusing, but a curious thing with that, is that all the Sean Lacey Esports Academy drivers used to drive the Nita Velix. Bit of a moment.
Part of them also comes from Singularity, doesn't it?
Singularity. So Singularity, Nita Velix was the team, and Singularity was effectively the brand on top.
Yeah.
So Singularity is Nita Velix in that sense.
Nowadays, it's very multi-layered, basically.
Oh,
There's so many
everything's
teams and
multi-layered.
organizations out there. I mean, if we really need to go through, we also know that the BMW works injury, right? It's like real life. Alan Turzak obviously coming from now he's coming from Bureau Sud Competition. And Muhammad Patel also signed there, I think.
Yes, recently, same day.
Yeah, then Porsche 24 is Team Redline. Project 1 is Butler Power Motorsport. And there are a few others. Then there are a few mixed teams, obviously, as this is a one-off race. So, bear with us if we're sometimes a bit confused by who's from which team, because it's like real life. There's so much movement, and it makes it more interesting to actually follow the story of your favorite team or favorite driver, because nowadays there is something to basically explore every week. When we jump into replay with Devin Brown, is that the
he got hit from the HME, and it lost in the rear wing.
Oh, especially since it just passed the pit. I mean, he probably didn't saw it that he lost the rear wing there, and it was just racing on. That was very unfortunate. That was down to the HM Engineering car.
Absolutely. So there we go. We'll take back the criticism of the John Lacey Esports Academy, because that was not on them. I was going to say, when it comes to the whole the team stuff, let's not even get started on R8G, because that's a whole different ball game of, wow, this is complicated. They are currently leading the way, though, by 10 seconds over Varga, and you'd not be shocked to see Erhan Yovski at the front of an rFactor 2 field, would you?
It is crazy nowadays. And I just checked back with Dom Dooner, by the way, who is the team manager of Redline, saying that Rudy van Buren was in T1 during the Code 80, while BMW managed to immediately pull up to the pits because they were behind them. And that's how the Porsche 24 entry lost so much time there. Unfortunately, that's part of racing. We all know that, right? Like, a safety car comes out in real life, or you get a Code 80, Code 60. Code 60 is a thing here at the Nürburgring as well. Sometimes you're a winner of that, sometimes you're a loser.
But this is where the long game comes in, because yes, that's how it looks now. But remember, those drivers like Alan Turzak and Mohamed Patel, they pitted. It was around about this point last hour, right? Was when they came into the pit lane to serve that. Now, I've said before, they've got to make another pit stop, etc., etc. Whether it'll work out or not, we'll have to wait and see. With the Porsche 24 by Redline drivers, they're coming in 20 minutes' time, so I reckon they're going to retake the lead. Now, that will line up potentially with the end of the race, and I don't know between which group is the superior strategy. Burst Esports around the outside of Butler Powell, and then Pescara ATP also getting involved.
Yeah, they're now side by side going to La Source. Let's see. Heiko Kolvenbach can actually keep the inside line. Might lose it here on the traction out there. There's also 911. Yeah, Heiko losing a pace outside there on the sausage curve, probably. And with that, Pescara ATP outer tile is now through. Paul dropping to 12, and that's it. It's like sometimes that one move that costs you 2 positions just because it's so hard to get back onto the line and be in the groove again, because everyone around you is just so quick. You have to be on top of your game.
It is hard work out there. The thing is, with the action around, oh my goodness me, following what I'm about to say, the action is near constant. You don't have a time to breathe. When you're in the car, this is why these kind of races, it is a sprint race, because when you're in the car, you're only doing an hour or so. You can't breathe in that time. You have to just constantly power through. Lifting out of it, Liam Duval, just to try and line himself up. They go through Blanchimont a little bit wide there for the Burst Esports driver. That's Michi Hoyer. And I go just hanging on there on the apex, and then watch this sort of overcooking it. And going trying to go for the triple cutback. That was ambitious.
I love it. It's like it's a lot of action everywhere, and we can see how a minor mistake cost you that much, and now he's stuck behind the John O'Lazy Ferrari there, the 488 GTE in its way, and you see how big the gap gets immediately if you can't get through traffic in the right way, like everyone else. If you actually run into traffic in the wrong sector, because the one with the straights are a bit easier for the LMP to pass, just like they do here against the Scuderia Chicken House Aston Martin. And there we have the leading car in GTE. It's still Alan Terzic for the BMW Works crew that is now enjoying how the sun goes down here at Spa, and the reflection changes and all the shadows changing, and a lot to digest for him, but still in the lead, and they're being followed by his teammate Muhammad Patel on the other BMW Works entry, and then it's the DX Droid BMW from David Serra. And I have to say, I'm quite surprised. There's 3 BMWs in the lead.
Catch 3 times now. Looks like move up. Car number 19.
That's Juan Carlos Fernandez in the DX Droids getting that message, and that is to do with Jenson Button. I said this, I swear I said this about 10 minutes ago, about Jenson Button being held up by a car with blue flag. So I'm pretty sure that call means you need to move pronto, son. When it comes to Alan Terzic leading the way in GTE, and we were curious as to the pace of Norris Schuring, who's in the car at the moment for the number 28 Porsche 24 by Redline driver. When it comes to the pace of that car, it's curious because he is spot on the money. He is running pace pretty much identical to what race leader Alan Terzic is running, which I'm pretty sure they are going to be very happy with Rudy Van Buren in that car. But I'm assuming they'll hand back to Rudy Van Buren on the next pit stop, so Rudy will finish the race. But for that middle stint, bravo, that is a great middle stint. And there is Mohamed Patel into the pit lane, as is Alan Terzic.
Pablo Lopez against the Burst Esports. That's the bikerless car, if I saw that correctly here. 13 then 12? No, it isn't, is it? Let me check that. That's Fortzilla. No, that's Michi Hoyer, the Burst Esports car. Yeah, that is a great fight here. Fortzilla, the first, I think that's the first big endurance event on rFactor 2. The official. Just keep in mind that nowadays when we look at sim racing and these big endurance events, and we saw that on the 24 Hours of Le Mans, the official virtual Le Mans, which you have commentated on, which I have to say, great job there. I really loved watching it. I actually watched the entire 24, so it was really cool. But looking at this, that is basically a works entry by Ford. Then we have the same on BMW, and we have the same on Porsche. There are 3 major car manufacturers being in this race, which is, it doesn't have a 1 million prize pool. It's a showcase race.
Absolutely, it's a testament to where sim racing is heading, and the speed it's moving forward. Whoa! Oh, he did come off that curve, didn't he? My goodness. By the way, we saw pop up in the top left, Juan Carlos Fernandez, drive-through penalty appeared. Guess what that was for? It was for ignoring blue flags. So he receives that penalty, has come through and served it. And I'm pretty sure he'll be a little bit more mindful in future. And this battle continues.
Oh, wow, look at that. 3 LMPs going through. That is Sebastian Priaulx at the front, and then Castor.
Oh, it's no, it's
Nuno Pinto. Nuno Pinto.
I think it's Yuri Toman going through in the middle of all that, because I think it is Pinto in the car. But that car there, there you go. It's second on the road in the middle of the battle for like 18th.
Oh wow.
Yeah, there we go. The battle for 18th.
Yeah, they 1 lap down, like Nuno Pinto and Sebastian Priaulx in 18th and 19th, and that car in between.
They're actually a lap separated entirely, because I'm pretty sure the Priaulx car is squeezing. Is very much squeezing as the Wavefreams car's trying to get out of the way. These are all a lap separated. You've got 1 on the lead lap, 1 lap down, and then 1 2 laps down in the hand of Nuno Pinto. So it's very messy in that, because they're not actually racing for position. No, they are. It's just
no. Nuno Pinto and Sebastian Priaulx are racing for position. I'm pretty sure they're both on 50.
My lifetime is telling me they're at 12. I was like, that's not right.
Yeah. And the other car that doesn't belong, that's correct. While they're now passing Omen Hamidovic and William Marsh in the replay. That was the Ferrari on the left. These guys now had a ton of corners being side by side and basically letting this look like a huge fight for the lead, but it isn't. It's just Yuri Toman for Borja Sim Racing trying to survive, because he is a lap ahead anyway. He just wants to make sure that he passes them as quick as possible and without any damage.
It's feisty. It is so mad racing that hard. But of course, you know, we're in crunch time. We're an hour and 10 minutes to go in the race, basically. And this is where positions matter. This is where things matter. You've got Bicolis Burst Esports battling with the team that effectively, in a sense, it wasn't that brand, but it was the Williams Esports outfit that beat them in that Le Mans virtual race. So, you know, it's round 2. Bicolis not winning that race. I'm pretty sure they'll want to put one up here in the first race at Spa, the first official race at Spa on rFactor 2, and they've got. I wouldn't say it's a mountain to climb, but they've got to do some climbing regardless.
Yeah, there's no other way for them, that's for sure. There's Jordan now, that's the Evolution Motorsport driver, and I'm pretty sure that head of studio Marcel Offermans will be quite happy about what we see on the right. Let's do it on first, at least for now. Let's see when they had their last pit stop. Their last pit stop was lap 27. So they're coming closer to their second now.
Yeah, which kind of makes sense that they would be pitting around that time. They'll be pitting on the hour, which means that the next pit stop will be their last pit stop of the race, as Nuno Pinto does get that move done on Seb Prio this time into Les Combes. And Dennis Jordan is trying to make a move on Martin Stefanko back in the car for Marle. And Dennis Jordan through. Nice stuff after taking over the car from Yuri Simoncic. The thing with these guys is they don't need... The good drivers in RF2 and in general don't need time to warm up. They get in the car and they are bang on the limit straight away, which I definitely can't do. I'd love to be able to. It's not my bag.
That's why you sit here with me.
Yeah,
actually talking about the action, right?
I can judge people from this angle. It's much better.
Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, that's a discussion we always have, right? That I did a lot of other esports events, right? Outside of sim racing, it's always like, oh, you couldn't do better, but you're still criticizing them. It's like, yeah, because you learn how to judge that. I mean, not every football commentator out there needs to do it better, right? That's not really our job. We need to compare them to everyone else in the grid, not compare them to us.
A mistake's still a mistake, regardless of who makes it.
Yeah.
You know? It's just the way it is. And to be fair, throughout the run of this race so far, considering it is just an invitational, you know, a showcase race, we've seen some great stuff. Huge respect. Whoa, that was just overdoing it from Heiko. But
yeah, that was the third time now we see him doing that. He seems to struggle a bit with the LMP2. Like I said, they won P1 LMS with this Orica. So they have quite a few hours in it, that's for sure, throughout this year. But Spa seems to not be the favourite place for now, at least. Not really where I expect them to be, I have to say. They're currently in 13th. They're dropping down further. While I see there was a car dropping. Oh, it's the Team Spirit Racing currently being in the pits. Same for Rookie Monsters. And the difference is only 12.5 seconds here between Morris Schring and Dennis Dooner. Should we check their lap times, maybe? Let's see. So last lap was 2:16, then 2:15 to 15 to 16 for Dennis Dooner, and Morris Schring is doing it 2:19 to 17 to 17 to 16. So at least for now, the Sim Racing for Holland car is quick.
Yes, but if I'm in the Sim Racing for Holland car, I'm wondering about that car that's chasing me down that I'm 13 seconds clear of. And I'm going to assume this is the case, that they're going to be changing drivers in the next pit stop, which would make sense that Rudy Van Buren would get into the car again. Which the fear of that is, I mean, it's Rudy Van Buren. I mean, need I say no more? The man is quite quick. So, there was a car there that was crashed on the pit lane entry there. I think. Oh, sorry, Ruben, but I think that was Arjan Veltons.
Was it though?
I think so. They are out of the race now, regardless. It was them. Oh no! That's a Kieran Parkin. That is. They Austin Powers it in the pit lane entry, parked perfectly. It was like obviously has had an incident that spun them 90 degrees and is parked perfectly where you literally can't move. So he was very stuck.
Yeah,
That's
not
a
much
shame.
not much they can do right now. Let's see it. That's the Scuderia Leone car. A Ferrari 488 GTE.
Prepare yourself.
Yeah, nearly lost it there. And then
Oh.
it's similar to what Yayovsky did, right? Being a bit too hot in there because you lose traction before that, so you're heating up the rear tires already, and then you do an entire swap of weight, throwing it from left to right to get into those pits, because the pit entry is basically a chicane following a chicane, and then you lose the rear there and throw it away. So very, very unfortunate there for them, and that's probably the end for that car. That's sad. I hate to see that.
It is sad. It's so easily done as well. And I'm. Do you know? I am actually surprised it's taken 2 hours for someone to do that, because it's such an easy thing to do, and especially when it comes to pit lane entries. The one at Spa is particularly difficult because it's not like Silverstone, where you're going into a straight line braking zone. It's whatever. It's fine. When it comes to the Spa one, you're still on the limit, because the pit lane line is not where like that starts, where that tyre wall is. It's much further down, which means that you're trying to maximise everything down that line, because it's quite far down. And it's easy to make a mistake like that when you're pushing on the limits, because it's so narrow, as I'm sure you're very aware of.
It is
in real life and stuff. Yeah.
It's not just a very challenging pit entry in general. It's also a very challenging spot where that pit entry is, right? Like as I said, I had my first race there with the Porsche Cayman last year in 2019. And there is a banking on the inside. You drop down with the car into that chicane, which means the rear gets light anyway, because the front end is really diving in. The rears, especially on the Porsche, is loose there every single time, at least with the setup higher end there. And you're drifting halfway through it. And then also trying to get that entry with proper speed in those GTE cars isn't easy at all. Talking about what isn't easy, it's going side by side between Axel Sports and Fortzilla again. Mika, is he doing it around the outside? Slide push there by the Fortzilla car. No chance for him to make that move slick. Now he has to step back. But that was a proper challenge there for 6th position.
That was massive. I love to see that. More, please. Side by side all the way through Les Combes. And then down the hill, and almost side by side for a 4th consecutive corner, but not quite to be. This is the thing, right? When it comes to moves, and I always argue this, is that we talk about beautiful moves from drivers and stuff like that, and fantastic stuff, etc., from the overtaker. But I think sometimes we don't give enough credit to like the overtakee in that scenario. And the fact is that with a move in a race, it requires 2 people at least. You can do 4, but 4, let's not go there. Effectively, it requires 2 people, though. And the thing is, it's respect between the 2 that makes a good move and makes good racing, not just 1. And so that's massive. Love to see that.
Yeah, well, we see Heiko Kolvenbach being under pressure once again. It seems like he's not up to the pace where he's currently running in. No, that was a lot of left and right there. Oh, he's falling into the pits. Yuri didn't know about that. That was very close there for the Varga Sim Racing entry. Luckily, both cars get away without any contact there. Well, Heiko coming in for his 3rd pit stop, I think. So I expect. No, that's the 3rd one. Oh wait, they had to use the pits on the previous laps. Did they get a penalty?
Must have been speeding or something like that. Yes, potentially.
Because they just came off a pit stop, so that is just doing one right the next lap. So I assume that was due to a penalty. Very unfortunate for them. Obviously, Borja, Milan, Nikita, and Wisniewski going through the field here. Oh, that looks so beautiful. Sun low, lots of cars, lights. Them trying to tank their way through with these LMP2 cars. Now 2 Porsche 911 RSR cars. They are screaming in real life. Holy cow, that's really it's killing your ears, especially on the grandstands. I can tell you that. It's a crazy car in general, but they're coming through and it worked out for them. That's the important bit. And I wonder how further up can Williams go after the mistake and the penalty.
In a 3-hour race, I'd say it is too much of a tall order for them to get up. Anywhere top 5. Obviously, I think that's out. If they can get somewhere inside the top 10, they'll have done very, very well. It's all about whether they've made a pit stop recently or not. I don't think they have. Other drivers in LMP2 are coming into pit lane, though, including our race leader, Dennis Jordan, Aslan as well, and Yovsky, all entering the pit lane to serve what will be their penultimate stop with 1 hour and 1 minute left on the clock. The LMP2s will be required effectively by their fuel tank to make another stop between now and the end of the race regardless, because they won't be able to make that distance. GTEs will be coming in for their final pit stops around about now. The tank is just about good enough to do an hour. With a little bit of fuel saving, you might be able to get it up to 1 hour and 5, but you do lose a lot of time. But effectively, we're talking an hour to get that sorted.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to wait until the very end of this.
Jimmy Nisula. Jimmy Nisula has been off. Not sure where he is. P3 at the moment for Juice's Satellite Racing. He is just gone through on the one. We've got Peter Thickett on the right-hand side of the screen. Is just where he's gone through. There's no wheel. We're going to have to go under code 60 again, I reckon, because there's no wheel on that Porsche on the front left.
Front left, yeah. Wow, that will slow down everyone once again.
We have a
probably
stop
right.
on
Yeah.
the track, so
There
we
we go.
come to a code 80. So that's on the
Massive.
pit limiter in 10
And
seconds.
it seems like Redline was involved in that, actually.
That's
So
in 5,
more interesting to see a
4,
replay here.
3, 2,
Everyone now going down
1.
to code
80 and
80. Yep. So they're currently running pit limit speed to
This
roll
is
around,
huge.
while Fordzilla is actually in the lead now on LMP2 during code 80. So they will be quite happy about that.
Well, they're going to be able to pit and do their penultimate service whilst at a reduced penalty, dependent on where they are on circuit. Let me just go and find that one out. I'm curious to see what happened. They won't actually gain from it in LMP2 because Pablo Lopez in that Fordzilla car is behind this. So maybe it won't be too much of a deal in LMP2. In GTE, though, different category. Dennis Dooner is in the pit
He is
lane
already
now
in, yeah.
for his final stop. So it's massive in the GTE category. And unfortunately, for the number 28 Porsche 24, considering when this car's going to hit pit lane and where they are at the moment, I think they are going to lose out on all of this.
By the way, they also changed driver on the Palm Motorsport during them coming into the pit, so it wasn't the penalty because they changed drivers. Now Noah Roivas. Oh, look at that! Oh, that's the Porsche 24 car.
That was that the number 28 as well? Was that Maurice Schurig?
I
believe
think so. Let me
it
quickly
was.
check where he is currently. He's still in second, and he's behind his teammate. That's also interesting. So,
it was Maurice Schurig. That's massive. That
yeah,
is
he's pulling into the
huge.
pits now. Oh, that's probably a penalty, I fear. Or at least the damage he took there, yeah. And obviously a lot of lost time there.
Yeah, I think that was more Schurig kind of like dropping away from the apex a little bit too much. But then, maybe you could say the Annabelle was holding him a little bit tight. Thankfully, that's Jimmy Allison's call, but it's not pretty to see, and it's very unfortunate as well for these two that were battling right up at the front end of the GTE category. And hopefully it won't rob us from a race. Look how close these are. We've got to race the slowest speed possible.
I love it. Look at that. Hakimi now needs to find the shortest way for
Exactly.
that car.
Exactly. I was about to say that. It's like, just because you're under code 60 doesn't mean you can't gain time. Hold the shortest line possible and you will gain a little bit.
Let's see how he does there. Just that. Don't follow him. Stay on the
Yeah,
right.
stay on the line.
Oh,
The slipstream doesn't make a difference at 60.
come on. Hakimi, you can do better than that.
Oh,
You can do it.
goodness.
That's the best battle we'll see tonight, I'll tell you. On the code 60. Code 80.
My goodness.
Oh, that's great.
Well, Sim Racing for Holland hanging on to the race lead then with that pit stop, which is
Great.
huge for them. Absolutely massive.
Did it very well there. It's like that timing was perfect for them. Hakimi now trying
Coming
the
back
inside.
to green
Let's
in
see.
10 seconds.
Stay on the inside. Just stay on the inside. You don't need to run the car wide with
5,
60.
4, 3,
Let's see what happens.
2,
Down to the
1.
chicane.
Green flag.
He's got no
Off
overtaking
we
opportunity
go.
straight
Great
away.
restart here. Hakimi against Lopez. Can Hakimi actually try and move into the chicane? No, there's not enough slipstream. Obviously, they have to accelerate first. Maybe now. both
And
pulling into the
straight back
pits.
down to 60 kilometers an hour they go. Oh no. That's, I mean, fair enough.
That's like, we're building up this highlight, and then both were like, nope. Sorry.
Oh, dear.
Pulling into the pits. Not up for it. So, lead overall, Gtr for Borja Sim Racing in front of Dennis Jordan, the Bicyclist Bus Esports driver and also Evolution Motorsport driver. And then it's Pablo Lopez and Hakimi, but they're in the pits currently. Obviously, Loris Bruck for RN Vision STS Sim Racing. And behind that is, no, in front of him, that is Borja Milan for 1ACO. Not taco time yet, I would say.
Not quite.
Yeah, they have to work on it a bit. I mean, they've still got 56 minutes.
Also, by the way, the RHG Esports car that's just gone up into third place of Haniel Sabti behind the wheel of that car now. Yellow flag came out in sector 1 again, under an hour to go. And I'm not saying it's nailed on, but considering where the Sim Racing for Holland car is, and considering that it has completed its stop, which I don't think, unless they came in under that, they must have done in some degree. Yeah, the BMW did indeed. It's looking very good for Sim Racing for Holland right now, based on that lead, if they've got everything in the car they need to do with an hour to go.
And they don't have to pit again. Like, otherwise, I would say that there must be a rule somewhere saying if they're in the lead and they still have to pit once, then Marcel Offermans has to take the wheel.
I think that should be law.
Yeah. It should be in the rule book. I mean, Jimmy Nelson
Absolutely.
could probably make it happen real quick. So.
Absolutely. It's a fun event. There's no pride. Come on. No, we don't. I mean,
The problem is they won't pit again. That's the thing here. Like, I'm pretty much sure they will not come in again, and they're now in front of Neil Verhagen for BMW. That's the car chasing them. They've been overtaken by an LMP further in the background, so we're not even seeing them on this shot. So the difference between them is quite big at the moment. It's 47 seconds, and then 55 to the second BMW. So a Corvette GTE leading one of the works teams. Maybe Corvette should consider having a works team as well.
Absolutely.
That would be great. By the way, can we have a close shot on the BMW cars? Okay, after this fight probably. That's Nuno Pinto in 6th against Michi Hoyer in 5th. And who came through there in the background? That was actually Martin Hemmingsen on 7th right now. Yeah, it is. The car in the background. But not close enough yet to do anything. So, Ruben, when you hear us, give us a close shot on one of the BMW Works cars. Because I would like to say something about their details on the car. So, maybe we can get that.
I'm sure I'd be lining up a lovely slow-mo for you.
Probably. Just because I said that.
Trademark pending. We'll see.
And there will be a Ruben Correa slow-mo copywritten logo soon, probably.
Absolutely. Nuno Pinto, by the way, came into the pit lane, the second RHG Esports car that's not really had the best day, but to say they've got themselves back inside the top 10 after early issues, they've done quite well. It'd be their penultimate stop as well, so still 53 minutes left on the clock. They can't quite get to the checkered flag from there unless they go really slow, which doesn't sound like a trademark that RHG Esports want to be a part of, bearing in mind their speed.
There's the slow-mo. So what I wanted to say about this beautiful car, on it says, "See you tomorrow." And you might wonder, why would BMW put on their car, "See you tomorrow"? That's because tomorrow we will have the BMW Sim Live event, which is the final round of the BMW M2 Sim Racing Cup. That's a very long title. It's probably longer, and Lewis should know it because he was commentating on that. But they have
It's
the
taken
final.
me all year to remember.
Yeah, it was tough. I'll give you that. I had the same in the first rounds there. But that's happening tomorrow. So if you want to see more rFactor 2 action, make sure that you check out the VCU and BMW channels tomorrow afternoon. And there will be more rFactor 2 action. They will actually visit the Nürburgring with the BMW M2 Cup cars. Very exciting racing over there for the last round with all the big names from the rFactor 2 world.
Because a lot of drivers on here. A lot of drivers on here in that.
Yeah, many of them are on tomorrow, that's for sure.
I think. Just trying to remember, with the exception. I think 90% of them are. I think
Yeah,
9
we know
of the
that
10.
Payopath isn't because he pulled out of this race due to
two.
BMW.
Because Smeedle's not here as well.
Yes, Mila's not here, and I mean Jack
that's it.
Keithley's even here. So yeah,
I think that's it. Because we got Nicodem, we got Kuba. Oh, there's loads of them. It'll be a truly great race as well, because that's such a strong field. Bit tight out of pit lane.
that was very close there for Sam Butler against the Fortzilla.
that's a
Are
bit
they
tighter.
racing?
You can't do
Wow.
that. I have seen a few things at Spa. I can tell you for sure. I have actually not seen that.
I saw that in real life once. It definitely happens. Not surprised, but still, that was avoidable. If I'm allowed to say that.
Certainly was, but I mean, let's be honest. Any contact, any incident like that is always avoidable. But it's just that it's
That's
just.
not true.
Is it not?
No. Sometimes it's not avoidable. Unless you're not
Sometimes it's
taking
just
part in the
amusing.
race.
Yeah, I mean, I can't avoid any incident from up here. Maybe I could. We'll see. We'll see how the next out pans out. Battle for
Still-
17th.
15 minutes to go. On board with Nikonov Wisniewski, trying to get back into the top 10 after the early penalty they got, because this was the leading car. And it was expected to be the leading car for a long, long time, but then they gave it over to Varga Sim Racing after it was Jakub Brzezinski getting a penalty for Williams. On the right side now, Kasper Stolze. That is GTE, third position. Passing. Oh, that was the second BMW Works entry. That was...
Bits of Visser.
yeah, that was Visser. That was very unfortunate.
That was quite a moment. Oh my goodness. I don't think quite judged the LMP2 coming through there particularly well. There's the 50 minutes remaining. Yellow flag back out in sector 1. Not sure who that is for, but we see it keep popping out. So obviously someone's having issues. And this is the thing with Spa. This is what makes Spa so great in a sense. Maybe not so great in others. Is that it's a track that bites, and it really does as well, because it's so fast. It's a circuit that will, if you make a mistake, yes, there's lots of runoffers. There's the move from Nikodem Wisniewski down the inside and up into 12th place. There's loads of runoff. Doesn't matter. If you're having a crash here, it's fast, and there's not much you can do about it.
Yeah, it is. There's a lot of runoff in a few places, but some of those walls are also very close. All of a sudden, they basically jump in front of your car if you have a mistake at the wrong moment. So it can be very punishing here to do a mistake at Spa. So hope that everyone gets through while we see the leading car of GTE now being with a lot of friends on track, I would say. That's the DX car as well, and that's Fortzilla and Axel Sports going through for the LMP. Now let's see, there's Andras Kirali behind the wheel, who was running for the lead in the Cup race, the support race we had before the 3-hour race. But unfortunately, he grabbed a penalty very late in the race, and due to that, didn't finish on the podium. But doing very well here once again. So, yeah, maybe it was worth it losing the podium in Porsche Cup if you get a race win in the 3-hour race. Let's see if they can keep on that till the end. So, this is Weizsäcker International GT Open in 2019. She did a really good job there, position 11. And then, what was that? That is one of the Ferraris going through. Then the LMP2 pushing.
Whoa.
Very unfortunate. I thought there was a contact before with the Ferrari, right?
Yeah. I wasn't
And then
100%
the LMP2.
sure. It's just one of those type things. LMP2 really trying to push it through whilst you're battling, because that was for position with the Gtr Esports car. That was Kasper Stolze who went through on Weizsäcker. So this is on board. Maybe didn't even know the LMP2 was really coming through there. I think just a bit of a misjudgment. Did turn down on the LMP2. Read into that really well.
It can happen. We saw that throughout the day. Especially when you go 3 wide, like you concentrate on the car that tries to overtake you, and then you totally miss the other car that wants to get involved in this as well, and then all of a sudden there is a contact, and it's very unfortunate. And it just shows that you obviously very concentrated at that moment, but on another aspect of that race, not on the car that passed you. But Julian Rodriguez now down to 16th, the Fortzilla car, after the pit stops, because they have been in the lead before pits a window for everyone. See if that's actually enough. So Varga, Bikerless Burst Esports, and Romain Grosjean Esports currently leading in the LMP2 and overall. And then GTE, we have Sim Racing for Holland, a BMW, and then John Lazy Esports after gaining that position of Visser in the incident that we just saw there. I mean, not really gaining it from the incident because the pass-through was done earlier. For, sponsor.
I don't think it wasn't too bad. It's like everyone survived, everyone kept going.
Yeah.
It was like, yeah, it's fine. Oh, I just see someone there. I will say, Rudy Van Buren, we can see on our screen now, behind the car now. We'll see what kind of pace he can dish out. We saw, I just saw anyway, one of the Porsches has crashed on the exit of pit lane up the top of Radion. I'm not sure which one it was, but just sort of caught it through the corner of my eye. Whoa, whoa, that is a narrow margin to go for the Axel Sports driver. This is what we saw earlier. There was contact there. And that's the GTE leader directly ahead, what you call trying to get by the DX Droids car. Then where does Axel Sports go? So tight.
It must feel so bad when you see like a group rolling at your car basically, and you're just like, man, I'm not racing any of you. I just want to keep the car alive. Like I'm leading anyway, so can I please not get involved? But you will always end up being involved in something on these multi-class events here. I mean, it's a lot of cars for this track, so there's overtaking every single lap. And then you can't really run away from that. Talking about running away, by the way, it's already 8 seconds between John Lazy Esports and the second BMW car, the number 31. We're on board with ESR Fallen Racing now. That's very slowed down to the Rouge.
Oh, I say crash. I'm assuming that could be fuel.
It must be, because that's way too
Oh,
slow.
that's so dangerous.
Yeah, why not pulling over? There's so much space on the right now. Just pull over.
Oh my god.
Oh.
This even in a replay, this is terrifying.
Wow.
Oh my god, no, I don't. Oh my. Even in sim racing.
Oof.
Oh, if this was a championship and there was another round, I don't think they'd be taking part because Jimmy Allison would have absolutely ripped them a new one, unfortunately. But Axel Sports, the number 22 car, receiving a penalty. That'll be entering the pit lane pretty soon. It's not the number 21 car that's up in 4th place, though. It is the other one a little bit further down the order that we've seen a few times. So no panics for the Axel Sports fans. Oh my goodness, diving in and out of traffic. There's a Scuderia Chicken House as well, and trying to get by some LMP2 traffic. Also trying to battle for position. Hemmingson versus Jack Keithley. Keithley, not necessarily an rFactor 2 driver, has driven for Williams Esports Marla Racing Team under the... It's a support team for Williams in this sort of sense in sim racing. Jack Keithley being a part of that. He's been very, very strong elsewhere in sim racing. In RF2, he struggled a little bit.
Well, he wasn't bad in the BMW M2 Sim Cup.
Was not indeed. Was right up there with the other Williams drivers.
Yeah. So he's capable of doing it, but he's definitely not an rFactor 2 specialist if you compare it to some of the other guys in that group. So
yeah. Nicodem and Kuba are mighty on RF2. So, like, when you're direct comparison to a teammate, when it's a sim that you're not too familiar with, and it's those two, it's like, I can't win. He's done very well to acclimatise to rFactor 2's nuances and the focus on tyre saving and things like that, which we don't normally see too much elsewhere. It's what makes racing in RF2 both difficult and unique in the sim racing world, because nothing quite gets it just like that.
I have to say, Martin Hemmingson in 6th is, I wouldn't say a surprise, but it is in terms of when you look at what happened to Hemmingson earlier. He was nearly, he tried to avoid a crash, but he couldn't. Well, that's a replay of Matt Channel and the Scuderia
This is
Chicken House
scary.
Aston Martin, and that was the car running out of fuel, and that was very close. Hani Al-Sabti, probably the next one coming around. Yep.
Whoa.
Wow. I mean, Al-Sabti, great reactions there. Very quick with the LMP2, but that, for example, that was avoidable. And I have to say, I'm really someone that often defends crashes because I think that
Got a
the
very
sim
slow car
racing...
in Sector 3. We're coming to a short code 80 in
Oh,
10
there we go.
seconds. Code 80, 10 seconds.
I think sometimes people overestimate
means
how it
no
should be
overtaking,
in
remember
terms
that?
of oh,
5,
someone touched
4,
someone else and he's a pro,
2,
you should not do
1,
that because
code
they're all
80
racing on the
enforced.
edge and mistakes are part of that. Sometimes it's a changing environment. Sometimes you're just not on point that moment, right? It's just like real life. If they would never do mistakes, then racing would be quite boring. Well, I see on my car, I see a BMW in the wall. Which BMW is that? Is that second position? Is that? It is Neil Verhagen.
It is Neil Verhagen, teammate of Alan Terzic. Oh no!
How
Well,
did
we'll
that
have to-
happen?
We'll have to see that. I will say the car that we're on to code 80 because of wasn't actually that one. It was the 22nd place Loris Brock in the Envision STS sim racing car. That is the one that was running around slow. Saw it a couple of shots running around the back of the circuit. It's just approaching Blanchimont now. What has happened to BMW? Because that car is toast. He is 90 degrees down on left-hand lock. Whoa, what has happened? I don't think Alan Terzic would be particularly happy with
They have been such a
that.
good position here for the remaining time, but what I wanted to say in storylines, basically, sometimes I think it's a bit too harsh because being a pro doesn't mean you never do mistakes, and mistakes are part of racing. As in, you can always misjudge because there's so many other cars around you, and then touching someone and then having a slight contact is absolutely normal, and it happens in real life every single time as well. But that thing there, not pulling over when knowing that your car is running out of fuel, that was definitely avoidable, and that shouldn't happen. Definitely not.
It's just silly. It's like you say, it's avoidable. It's completely unnecessary, and even in sim race, it's terrifying. Oh, there's another one from the Lindbook. Sorry. Neil Verhagen, by the way, I've just had a look at that incident. So I'm very confused as to how it happened. I'm sure searching for a replay rapidly at the moment. It seemed as if he got on to the pit limiter like earlier than when the code 60 was announced, got onto the pit limiter but didn't slow down to the speed, which means obviously if you slide through a corner and you've got nothing under your right foot, nothing's there to it's impossible to save the car. Watch this coming through the left hand there.
We are coming back to green in 10 seconds.
And it's such a
That's in
weird
5,
incident.
4,
Flipping on the
3,
curb, basically.
2, 1.
I mean,
green
they're not.
flag.
Obviously, GTE cars don't have traction control, so.
No, indeed, this is why I think it's the same thing as like having your traction control up too high, because I think he was actually sliding before he hit the curb. It does look like it is the curb, but I saw it from swingman. I don't think it was the curbing. It's a bizarre incident though, and that's I don't know. I'm baffled and confused.
It's very sad because BMW was in a great spot. They happened first and second, then they went in second and third, and then second and fourth.
Oh,
And that is the butter from Axel Sports being the wrong way around after La Source. That cost a lot of time there.
Oh, there's even more. Was that the Blackhawk Porsche? Oh, the Vargason Racing. Oh, I get those two confused because it's black and white. But yeah, the Vargason Racing Porsche, Polesny, dropping down the order. Here's Nuno Pinto. We're on board with behind Ford Silla, behind probably your cars as well, as they intensely battle. This is what I love about sim racing, is that whether it's for the lead, for 14th, for 5th, for 28th, doesn't matter. You're going to battle the guy as hard as you possibly can, regardless of who they are. And that is what we're seeing down the order here.
Yeah, it's a very interesting battle, that's for sure. And they lost a bit of time there, Rodriguez and Pinto. And Nuno Pinto, obviously an ex-driver of Butler Palm Motorsport as well. So as soon as he gets past Rodriguez, he's basically fighting against his ex-team. So it is an interesting battle, but it seems did Nuno Pinto really lose a ton of time there because he lost another position as well.
I don't quite know what's happened. I don't think this will... this might shed some light on it, because there is Nuno Pinto in the background. So this is with Axel Sports, who just goes off by himself. Oh, he just goes off by himself.
Yeah, and then smashing the throttle too hard, spinning it around. That's it.
And received a penalty as well in all of that, which isn't great. Michi Hoyer, Jack Keithley, these two were they ever teammates? Because they were both... Yeah, of course they were. Jack Keithley used to be a part of ACR in 2018, which was obviously Michi Hoyer was a part of, and then there were splits and that lot. So these two were, in effect, ex-teammates, but they were actually teammates with each other directly in an event. Because I remember at the Nürburgring, Michi Hoyer was effectively the team manager of Jack Keithley, but he didn't race or drive directly with Jack Keithley. I'm assuming they did some bits on the other hand, but my memory is fading on that one. But sort of ex-teammates in a sense, but from a good couple of years back.
We go far down memory lane, it seems. But they're not teammates anymore, and Burst Esports is in front of Milan Racing Team. That means Jack Keithley will try to find a way around Burst Esports, and they're very close now for Blanchimont. There might be a setup now to make a move on the chicane, being forced to the outside here. Not really getting alongside, but there's a slower LMP right in front of them. That will play a part now in this maneuver, because Michi Hoyer might be able to play with that and get it as a second, let's say, blockade basically for Jack Keithley in place. But both lost a lot of time there in the chicane. Wow, that was very late for Michi Hoyer to close the door there. But I also have to say, I think Jack Keithley wasn't as close as it looked like at that moment. Let's see if he can make a move on Camel Straight there. There was the Axel Sports car in the pits, the one that we saw spinning a bit earlier. And see if that slipstream is enough, because Michi Hoyer probably also gets slipstream from, I think that's Drillers in front of them.
Indeed, it is. Like, that's not a lapped car going a lap. That, like, anything like that, that is for position as well. That is Martin Henningsen in the Drillers Esports car, the number 4, currently running in 5th place, with Michi Hoyer and Jack Keithley applying pressure. So after 2.5 hours, the battle for 5th is separated by a second between 3 cars, which, you know, you wouldn't have it any other way. I think Bicoles Burst Esports are closing in on Varga. The gap's sort of sitting around 3 seconds, but I think it has just been closing down a little bit over the last few laps. The last lap wasn't so great for Dennis Jordan, but it's still hovering around that kind of point. And an important note, and we're at an important milestone for the race, 34 minutes left on the clock, which means that any LMP2 pitting now can get to the checkered flag. So that final pit stop we're expecting from the LMP2 category, we are in that window now. And also, it looks fantastic on circuit right now. Got to be said.
Yeah, it's getting darker and darker. Now we have some spots off the track already in, let's say, darkness kind of things. Right, and Rouge and Rodillon here for Rodriguez with a Forza LMP2, but managed to get around the GTE. That was impressive. Because it might even look easy for someone that never did this corner. It looks easy, but believe me, it's one of those spots where you normally don't want to turn the wheel in any other direction at all. You just want to hold it like you learned, basically. Yeah. And then you pray that you make it to the top.
It is one of those things, you know, you see it in Formula 1, it's flat out, it's easy, top to bottom, you know, easy peasy, just keep your foot pinned. It's just magnificent. But no, in these cars, it is a challenge, and you're absolutely right. You don't want to be offline. You don't want any distractions in that point, because it's if you're slightly offline, there's less grip. If you're running a line where you're having to turn tighter, that's maybe too much for the car to do, because you're on the limit of you know, downforce and adhesion at that point. So any extra steering input that you might have to make could throw the car. And even going slower through there, the slower you go, the less downforce you have, as there goes the move to the inside for Jack Keithley on the inside of Michi Hoyer, not able to go for the cutback and get back underneath. But yeah, the slower you go, the less downforce, because, you know, downforce is created for speed and wind and blah blah blah. Again, boring stuff. But
and magic.
Yeah, exactly. And mostly it's magic. So the slower you go, the less downforce, which means if you have to slow down for a car ahead, that's not what the setup is built to do that corner in, which means you're at a high likelihood of having a crash. It's terrifying. They're brave boys out there, boys and girls. It's terrifying stuff. This is on board with Shinya Suzuki, as you'll see on the left-hand side, just coming through. Oh, there we go. That was tight. But that's on the very limit of the GTE. That's what LMP2 drivers and LMP1 drivers don't understand, is that when you get to the back of this slow, lethargic, heavy, careless GTE car, you're like, oh, just get out of the way. But you don't realise that GTE is on the very limit of what they can do.
Definitely is. I mean, it's just now with 32 minutes on the clock, right? Everyone will now try to make a move, because before that you always tell yourself, oh, it might not be the right moment now, but they could make a mistake later, right? But you're running out of time. Like, you want to be on point right now, and if you want to climb up the leaderboard, then hell yeah, do it now. Otherwise you might be too late, and then you can only regret everything you did in the race, basically. So we'll see how that turns out in the end now, because I guess at least in GTE we'll see way more aggressive moves now compared to the start of the race, where we have both leaders on camera. Borja Sim Racing on the left and Sim Racing for Holland with Andres Corrali behind the wheel on the right. That's the GTE Corvette. Just got overtaken by, I think, the 1ACO LMP2.
I believe it was as well. It's the thing is, to your point about when do you start being aggressive and what do you leave on the table and stuff, is that no matter who you are, what position you finish, you'll always get to the end of the race and think, oh, I should have got that done just slightly earlier, because then maybe I could have gained this, and this. A race is never perfect. There's always something to improve. We heard from Alex about the track as well, is that it's pieces like that, they're never effectively finished, they just get released, is one thing that I heard from someone once, and that's such a good line. And it's the same thing with a race in a certain way, is that a race is never perfect. There is always something more that you can do, but you're in a limited time period, so it comes to an end at some point, and it's just about making the most of that time period. Hard work. 2.7 seconds, by the way, the gap between Varga and Baikoles there, leaving nothing on the table. Baikoles first Esports, Dennis Jordan firing as many laps as he can, good. But Yuri Toman is matching on times bit by bit. 30 minutes left in the race. Final pit stops still to come in for the LMP2 categories. GTs, I believe, have all done. Our focus on the LMP2 category. Do you come in early or do you leave it as late as possible?
To be honest, I'm not really great in race strategies when it comes to that, so I'll leave that to other people that way more clue about how that's done and how they can use that to their advantage.
Oh, nice move from Keithley on the inside of Hemmingson. Dive it at La Source. That was quite a pretty move as Keithley's marching his way up the order. Was just talking about how he's not really an rFactor 2 driver. He's not showing that at the moment, up to 5th place. Nice. A nice drive thus far for Stefanko's teammate. Dodging past the Ferrari as well. I think the Drillers Esports car is going to get back through. It's all about how late on the brakes Jack Keithley can do into Les Combes. Here they go side by side. Jack Keithley trying to leave it as far down the inside. The Pinsim Drillers Esports driver pinning it all the way around the outside. Nice work from him. Jack Keithley not able to do anything, and Drillers go back to 5th.
It's a great fight that we see here in the LMP2 class, and I'm more than happy that we still have these fights after more than 2 hours into the race now, and I kind of feel that we will see even more now that we approach the last few minutes. Not few yet, it's still more than 20, but there might even be a chance that we see that big fight for the overall win, and that would be a great moment for the race.
With half an hour on the clock, this race could look very, very different, and it is impossible to tell from this scenario how it looks. The GTE category, I don't feel will change too much because they don't have a pit stop to make. The LMP2, though, still has the strategy wide open, and more importantly to that, for our eyes on the screen, is the gaps are still super, super tight. We're seeing this battle, and behind that, Gtr Esports also not far behind. Tony Meller behind the wheel of that one, taking over from Jenson Button over the final couple of stints of this race. The Frenchman, I thought he was going to go down the inside there, was Keithley. But they've still got that pit stop to make. The gaps are still close. Everything's still super duper tight when it comes to everywhere in the LMP2 category, because the leaders are still only 2 and a bit seconds apart. The battles are rapid. and rampant up and down the order. Still got the odd bit in GTE though.
In GTE, the fight is once again on. And I wonder if there's a chance for Von Splinteren and Siggy to actually have a slight comeback here after they had been in the lead of the race. They're not anymore, but they have Rudy van Buren now in the car again on the number 28, which is in third. Even though they're chasing Gtr Esports and sim racing for Holland. For both BMW entries, it just went worse from the Neil Verhagen accident. And since then, they're dropping down the order. And next up is Your Name Racing here. Well, oh, wow, that was a bit of contact.
There was a bit of contact there between the two of them, and that's allowed Keithley through. How did that come about? Oh dear. It wasn't the best angle to see it from, I don't think.
Oh, look how close that is every time. There was a car on the right. What was that?
Yeah, who was that? Was that BMW?
Just don't tell me it's another BMW entry dropping. That would be very hard for them. No, Neil Verhagen I see driving. And I also found Skivissa.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was... Oh, it was an LMP2. I think it was the Axel... It was one of the Axel Motorsports LMP2s. It certainly was. It was the number 22, down in 22nd place. It's not the one in 4th. Do not panic. Vargason racing into the pit lane though. Oh, that's another slow car on circuit. I think that's going to... Oh, he's quite late in the lap though, is the Axel sports car. So I don't think we're going to get another code 60. Oh, was that Jack Keithley coming across a little bit, do you think? Maybe. Or we'll just call it a racing incident and move on.
Quickly checking the Bicycle Sports Esports car right now. It's like they would need to come in as well, so it's not like it's only Jerry Tillman who has to pit as again. So everyone should come into the pits at least once before finishing the race. So very interesting now if it even changes, because Tillman will be on older tires now after the pit stop, because he's obviously on track longer with them then until Dennis Jordan and Hali Al-Sabti pit.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure. You know how you said that you're not so great at strategy?
And now you want to tell me it's true or what?
Oh, no, neither am I. I have no idea.
I thought you were like, yeah, it's actually true.
I mean, very much so. Look, the thing is with sim racing, we've all got race engineers. I say we've all, not everyone does, but like whether you got like second drivers and stuff, they become race engineers and stuff. So there are a lot of people that can see a big picture and they run the strategy of that car, and there aren't many teams better than Bicoles Burst Esports and that lot. They're very much on it, all of them, whether it's Alex Sieber, whether it's Dennis Jordan, whether it's Yuri Simic, they're all on the same page. Running around again, still continuing to lead, so not making their final pit stop yet, with 24 minutes left on the clock. When do they do it though? When do they do it? They've got to do one.
Yeah, definitely. There's no other way for them. I don't think the car can last that long.
No, absolutely
not on this pace, because we didn't saw a significant drop in pace to actually try to save fuel here and there. So I wouldn't expect anything in terms of crazy strategies that we didn't anticipate it. On the other hand, I really don't know when we should expect them right now. Like Dennis Jordan, I would say they're in 72 right now in terms of laps. So latest 74, I think it is.
Yeah, maybe. It's the thing with them. It's about like, because they're not going to take tyres on the stop. They're running the tyres to the end of the race. So effectively, you want to run it realistically as far as possible on the lower tank, because it's the same tyres. So you're on like the fastest the car will be is now. Once you come into the pit lane and fill it back up, you're still on the same tyres. And then obviously it's about being a master of doing those fast lap times without taking much out of the tyres. Battle for 16th place on the left-hand side of your screen is, I believe it'll be Andy Prio in behind the car at the moment, trying to attack Matthew Beavis in the Rookie Monsters car. Down for 15th place, Tony Mellor into the pit lane for the last time for Gtr Esports Zancho. So there's still, some of them are biting now. And like I say, you want to leave it as late as possible, but you kind of also want to leave it as late as possible just in case there's a code 80, because you can gain from it.
Yeah, there's always the risk for code 80. We had, did we have 3 already or 2? 3, I think.
3?
Yeah. I think we're at 3 across the race so far. So there's a chance for another one, definitely, especially now if we will have a few cars fighting. So we need to look into some of the gaps now to figure out what could have happened with Gtr Esports passing one of the John Lazy GTEs, but that went well. No problem at all. Fortzilla 13th right now, right behind Noah Roivas from Palm Motorsport, and then Nuno Pinto on 11th. Noah Roivas with that drift through La Source on the LMP2. I thought he lost it there.
Apparently the LMP2 is quite catchable, so we've seen from today, because we've seen an awful lot of sliding and an awful lot of good catches out there as well for good measure. Leaving the pit lane, that is the Gtr Esports car, Tony Mello behind the wheel. That's their final stop complete, ticked off, ready to go to the checkered flag. Well, I thought I was considering the Fordzilla was going to go around the outside there, which would have been an extremely brave move from that far back. There we go, we've got a couple of other drivers into the pit lane. Marla racing team into the pit lane, as are the number 4 Drillers Esports into the pit lane. 21 minutes left on the clock. It's now or never for a lot of these drivers, and the thing is a mistake now. You can't speed it. You cannot afford to speed in pit lane now, because at the start of the race, maybe if you get a drive through, you've got time to work back from that. You've got time to attack and maybe out strategize and work something else out to gain that time back. Now, if you make a penalty, that's it. Day done. You come through a drive through around here. It's taken a long time. It is a long old pit lane on the endurance layout. And with 20 minutes left on the clock, you are not gaining anything back from that.
Wonder if that Castor and Pinto combination here on 10th, that's probably not where they've seen themselves before, but Noah Roivas is closing that gap. They're also on different strategies in terms of pit stops. So I wonder if that might be a difference. Yeah, there we go. They had to come in for the very last time here. 20 minutes still on the clock. Wonder if they will change drivers again. We saw Heiko Kolvenbach, I think, for the longest time in the car. So would assume that they go with Noah Roivas again.
I think changing the slate might be a little bit of a miss call, especially considering Hani Al-Sabti almost had a very slow entry into his box. Very, very slow entry into his box for Hani Al-Sabti. I think he missed timed where he was doing. They've come into the pit lane, by the way, by Colles, Burst Esports and RAG. He's left 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds on the table there. What a mistake. Again, you can't make those at this time. You've got to be on the limit. Everything has to be perfect. He says, as someone who's run out of fuel in a sim race from a T-lap lead before. Axel Sports, I think, will take the lead of the race as well as things stand, because by Colles Burst Esports haven't come to a stop in their box yet. They have now. And so for the final 20 minutes starting it, what a drive from them. Axel Sports, I was not expecting them to be battling anywhere near the top 5 today. Now leading, they do have to make another stop, but Rene, what a drive.
They definitely did a great job here, and I wonder where they could drop after that pit stop, because we see Yuri Toma now being in 4th after Burst Esports also pulled into the pits. RAG Esports with Hani Al-Sabti, they're also in the pit lane right now, so it will be very hard for them to be inside the top 5. I don't see that happening, because we saw Yuri Toma dropping way more than that, but there is a chance for a very solid top 10 result, I would say.
And as we say that, the teammate of them, I believe, yes it is, picks up yet another penalty. I believe that is the 3rd one for the number 22 Axel Sports car. So really ticking him off. This is on board with RHG. So this is exactly what I mean. You watch him crawl into the box. It's one of the early ones on the right-hand side here. So comes to it. Then does... I wondered if he was waiting for his teammate to join to maybe take over. But again, he's not going to be handing over. I'm kind of speechless to why he would have stopped that early. Maybe he didn't quite judge it right. But either way, Hani Al-Sabti gifting an extra few seconds, which could be so costly in the latter points of the race. He's still a good way off the race lead, mind. But effectively, I reckon if he hadn't made that mistake, he's only 5 seconds back from Borja Milan. I reckon without those issues, he may well have been ahead. Could be important at the final points of the race. There we go, Axel Sports into the pit lane for their final stop. So Baikoles Burst Esports will retake the lead. And with everything that's happened in the previous stop, I think it's shorter stops from Baikoles Burst Esports because they are 10 seconds clear of Yuri Toman and a good further basically 8 on Borja Milan. So big moment to Baikoles Burst Esports. Said they wanted to put one over the likes of Williams after their defeat in the Le Mans Virtual. Certainly putting that to good use right now. They have a fire in their belly and they are using it.
Yes, they definitely have that pace right now, and wonder if they can actually bring that to the start-finish line at the end. It's only 16.5 minutes here for Baikoles Burst Esports, and we know that Dennis Jordan is a driver that can handle the pressure of being in the lead for the very last minutes, and no matter if someone's closing that gap to him, he's still someone that can defend a position very, very well, and he showed that plenty of times during the GT Pro Series, where he was on constant attacks for basically half an hour, and he was still able to hold his position or even making a move on the car in front of him. So it's probably one of the best drivers to have in control right now, as long as you don't have to hunt someone down, because we know that Burst Esports has quite a few drivers that are very, very fast, and some of them probably faster than Dennis Jordan, but he will be in control of his car and he can bring this home.
It's an extremely strong outfit. The fastest driver in them, respect to everyone on the team, Yuri Simoncic is the fastest of them, which I don't think anyone would shy away from that fact. He's a 2-time champion in FSR and the World Championship. He's won this, he's won that, he's won basically anything you put in front of him, he's won. He is a mad quick driver. But the thing is despite his mad speed and being the fastest driver in the team, when he hands over to a second driver, be it Dennis Jordan, be it Alex Siebel, be it Michi Hoyer, doesn't matter. They're all mighty, mighty quick themselves. Of course, it is important to know that Dennis Jordan and Alex Siebel aren't actually a part of Burst, at least not yet, because they're Evolution, which is their own thing. But then they've worked together with Yuri Simoncic for Edge Esports, now Burst. The sky's the limit for them lot. And it all comes to them working together, because it's been 3 different teams now. I suspect that's a partnership we're going to see for a very, very long time in sim racing.
At least hopefully. It will be great if that keeps on going.
Indeed. Sim Racing for Holland continuing to lead in the GTE category to I don't know why, but every time I see this car out front, I'm like, oh my god, what a shock result. It's really not anymore. It's almost becoming the norm. They're not so great at qualifying, but by golly are they good in the race. They are absolutely running around when it comes to consistency, when it comes to ability to race up an order. Sim Racing for Holland and using strategy to their advantage always end up towards the front end of a field. They've got some quality drivers. I'm sure Marcel will be very happy with how 2020 is ending for his sim racing team, and I don't know about you, but I'd be pretty happy as well.
You can be happy about that, and we know with such events, it's always good to actually see the finish line at all. We have quite a few cars where DNF to know once again. Excellent Sports. They were trying to defend the inside. It worked. I actually thought that Guerrillas Esports has the chance here to go around the outside, but they couldn't make it stick for now. But look at that pace coming out of the corner. They have another shot here, but around the outside is way too long. I don't think that will work at all. But he's trying to push. They're going for both here. Was that actually wasn't the wrong category? It's Miko Nase and Martin Hammingsen. But Hammingsen, no chance there around the outside, just losing too much pace, and it's a way longer line there going around the outside.
We've seen it a few times, but it only works if you have a grip advantage on that car. So if you're on fresher tyres, if you're on the same age of tyres, the same percentage, it doesn't. It is such a long. I mean, it's 180 degrees all the way around. It's going downhill, which means the offline is slightly, ever so slightly, in a sense, off cambered, which means it's even longer. It's even harder to keep it around there. So without that grip advantage, it's near impossible. The lower the grip, the easier it kind of is to try. So later in the race, if you're all kind of on the same bit, then it might work. But at this point, the tyres in the LMP2 category, they don't get too warm because they're such short stints and you can change them frequently. So the tyres never get to a point where it's that low in grip. Hemmingson, though, he's doing his best to get through into 7th place. It is, like I say, we've said it a few times before, but for Axel Sports, what a great event. You're absolutely right, they weren't able to quite get themselves inside the top 5 with how much time they'd lost, but I'm pretty sure 7th place, they'll be absolutely happy with that.
If you look at all the other teams that are involved here, then 7th place is great. I mean, there's a Gtr Esports car behind them, Burst Esports car behind them, Gtr Esports, which is basically Sunshow plus Jensen Button. They're 10th behind them, the Williams cars behind them, Nuno Pinto, and the second RHG Esports car as well. So there are a few big names behind the Axel Sports entry with the number 21. And you can be proud if you actually bring that to the finish line.
We're seeing the top 10 for each category in the final 10 minutes of the race. Like I say, there's been some great drives up and down the order. There's been some disappointments from some huge mistakes. But for the drivers currently out front in both categories, it has been pretty perfect for them, as here's a car that maybe would have assumed should have achieved more. The Williams Esports Chill Blast car of Brzezinski, and it's currently Nikodem Wisniewski behind the wheel. Early issues, speeding in the pit lane. By speeding, bear in mind it's a 60 km/h pit lane limit. They did 152 on the entry to the pit lane, which is quite quick. So they picked up quite a large penalty for that. They served it under a code 60, which you're not allowed to do. So they received yet another penalty for that. It has not been a day that Williams Esports Chill Blast will want to remember. They were first for such a long part in the early stint. They were absolutely out front, battling with Varga Sim Racing, and then after that, it has been downhill from there. They've built themselves back up to nearly challenging for a top 10, but that's definitely not what they came here for. Certainly not the glory they were looking for.
What really surprises me is that it's the difference between the teams we now see in on the podium positions compared to the beginning of the race and what we actually expected, right? You said that Williams Esports, they probably don't want to remember this race because it didn't work well for them, but they're not the only ones. I mean, we now have Bikerless Burst Esports. Yes, that is a very quick car, but personally, I would have expected the RHE cars to be closer to that position. Or have that position. Then we look at GTE, which was first dominated by Porsche 24, then in control of the BMW Works cars, and now there is a Porsche 24 back into the podium, which is Rudy van Buren, who does a great job right now having a comeback for his team, but is sim racing for Holland leading and John Laser Esports in second, and I have to admit, that's definitely not what I expected in that class.
Absolutely not, but there is a delicious battle coming in the GTE class. And the driver you were speaking of, Rudy van Buren, who is in 3rd place at the moment, closing down 1.3 seconds on the previous lap on Casper Stolzer in the Jean Alesi Esports Academy Ferrari. That gap has been plummeting and plummeting and plummeting. And the battle for second, I think, with under 10 minutes to go in the setting sun of Spa, what a perfect scene it is to have a battle for 2nd place. I don't know who I'd put my money on in that scenario, but Rudy van Buren is looking mighty quick at the moment. Speaking of battles for the podium, RHG Esports, after a few issues earlier in the race, maybe a little bit disappointing for them, but they can still recover something from it. Here's the 5 seconds that Hani Al-Sabti gave up in the pit lane on the previous stop. Desperate to try and get that one back. Oh, Ruben with the shots, man. Here they go to.
You wanted to concentrate on the fight, and then you actually get that, which looks so amazing. But yeah, it is... Al-Sabti now chasing down, who's in that car currently, Borja Milan, and I have to say I will put my money on Al-Sabti in this case because he is a great driver, but so is Borja Milan, but It's just that the Roman Grosjean outfit had so much success lately. That was the first time showing himself on the inside. And it seems like Borja Milan did a slight slip out there on the curb when coming out of that corner. Once again, opening up the inside. So the line of Haniel Sapti way closer to the apex on that one. What we see on the other screen now, how Rudy van Buren runs into a second position on GTE, Kaspar Stolzer. So 2 big fights now for the last 7 minutes of this 3-hour race, and I say that is amazing. Having these fights that late in the race after that long of time here in Spa, great. That's the finish I want to see.
Absolutely great defense from Borja Milan as well. That was really lovely done, trying to hold back Haniel Sapti at the moment. On the right side of the screen, I think a move's about to happen here. The Ferrari with the Porsche behind. Rudy van Buren to the inside of what will be Les Combes, but he doesn't need to make a dive. He is already clear of Kaspar Stolzer before we even got down there. Probably one of the easier moves you'll see all day as the Ferrari nearly hits the back of the Porsche. And there we go, Porsche 24 with Team Redline back up into second place in class. Might be a little bit disappointed with it, but I think regardless, their recovery back up the order through maybe being, just out-strategized in a sense, some code 60s falling for drivers in certain ways. They've done a great job to get back up to second. Now we can focus on this battle for third place. 6 minutes left on the clock. That'll translate to just 4 laps from where we currently run. I'm with you. I think this one's a bit more on Haniel Sapti, but Borja Milan can do it if he plays his cards right.
Yeah, that's the big factor here, right? You can be a very good defending driver, but it doesn't really help here on the straight with all the slipstream. So does he live to get behind? No, he doesn't. He tries to stay side by side. Yeah, that did work out. And with that, Haniel Sapti is overshooting the chicane. They might even touch. They did. But both cars survived there. With that, Haniel Sapti is back behind Borja Milan. I was afraid it ends both drivers' run here on the very last minutes of the race, but both survived and the fight is still on.
I don't know how they're still going, because there was contact between the two. I'm in the same boat as you, that I thought as Bitskavissa into the pit lane for BMW. It went BMW's way for a bit, and now it's absolutely fallen apart, unfortunately. I thought it was going to end in tears there. Same category as you, that Haniel Sapti was going to skip across the chicane straight into the side of Borja Milan. Thankfully, that's not what happened, and we still have this race for the podium carrying on towards the checkered flag in the setting sun of Spa. It is intense between the two of them. We've seen a few mistakes in the last year from the Gtr Esports outfit from Haniel Sapti. He's made a few mistakes. He's a very aggressive driver. And through that, we've had incidents with his own teammates, Yuri Castor in GT Pro back at VIR. This time he doesn't want to be making a mistake. He's to the outside of Borja Milan into the final chicane for the podium, locks up the rears. Oh my goodness me, he has got it done. Borja Milan trying to get the cutback on the run into the source. It will be the slipstream for Borja Milan into the source, and if he doesn't make it there, it will be slipstream up through Eau Rouge, Rabion, and into Les Combes as well. And with traffic ahead, this could get very sketchy.
Yeah, he was probably waiting to not do that move there in that source, because as you said, there's a stretch coming afterwards, and that was Haniel Sapti really being on the edge here on that maneuver. Beautifully done, especially since he was able to cover up the inside right after, so there was no chance for a cutback. But the question is there now a fight on the straight? And there isn't, because Borja Milan came through traffic way worse than Haniel Sapti. And now there's a big gap already. Let's see the replay here. So that is Sapti in front. There we go.
If there was something that Haniel Sapti needed right then, it was that.
Yeah, it's like, let's be honest, that wasn't the fault of the Porsche. Like, the Porsche still has to clear that corner somehow. He can't get out of the way or just become invisible, basically. Unfortunately, that was right in the way of Borja Milan, and with that fight is probably over. What was the red line car doing there, though? That was not Rudy van Buren. That was where's the second entry? That was Kevin Siggy. Was he just trying to get out of the way, or why did he run that far?
I think potentially that is quite a move to be that far sideways. Because what's the exit of this? What's the opposite lock? I think Haniel Sapti's been playing some rally sims between doing races on rFactor 2. Learning to slide.
If he did, then it paid off.
Certainly.
That was amazingly done there. Love that. I mean, I love the haze and how everything now looks like a typical summer evening, and everything looks very romantic. And then you see that car sliding into the chicane. It's like, oh yeah. Give
This
me
is
that
the weather
shot.
I wish it was now.
But yeah, I mean it's winter now, so
Yes.
we have snow already at the Nürburgring.
Oh. I live in the south of England where it doesn't snow, so I guess I'm all good on that front. But you know.
I mean, we don't have those crazy winters anymore at the Nürburgring, I have to say. I mean, I only heard that from people, right? I just moved here last year, so I never had a crazy winter. But yeah, we had snow already, and it's kind of cold here. And we're at minus 8 degrees in between already. So it's getting kind of cold, which is sad because track should be open tomorrow. Track should be open next week, but this weekend is already cancelled due to 2 or even minus 1 degrees that I expected. So not really the right temperatures to let people onto the Nordschleife. And unfortunately that steals my chance to drive the new car on it. But that's how it goes. Obviously sim racing for Holland. Still doing the work of a leader here. 1.5 minutes to go, so basically means probably survive another lap. And then you got the win in the very first official event on Spa here. And that will be a big one with all the teams involved, so all quite happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have put a bet on it 'cause I'm not really a betting man, but if there was a team that I would have sort of considered in this event on the lineups that we had by College Best Esports would definitely have been one that I'd be looking at, because between Dennis Jordan and Yuri Simičić, of 2 drivers in that car, that is one of the strongest lineups you will see in any form of endurance racing. So it's almost no surprise to see them out front. Even in a 3-hour race, they just know how to play the long game in that sense. So they've just done everything right today. They'll have one more lap. It'll be their victory lap. He says, but always remember, you should never, ever, ever, ever celebrate too early. I saw someone once at Troy Rivera or wherever it was in a few years ago. Toby Davis celebrated on the final lap of the race, went straight into the barrier and lost the race win.
Oh really? I mean,
that is not why you do it.
Normally we see a lot on bikes, right? That was Jonas Folger, I think, in MotoGP or the class below. He crossed the line, raised his hands, and then realized that's 1 lap too early. So you drop down to 6th or even worse. And then the motocross, I saw someone celebrating on the last jump and then not receive bail. So, Marla Racing against Pescara here once again. Sabasi. These two were fighting quite often today in this 3-hour event at Spa. Slight bumping once again coming into this. That's actually Jack Keithley against Liam De Waal. Let's see if Jack can make a move now into La Source. It is the last lap for them. So if you want to make a move into the top 5, then it has to happen now. But once again, Pescar, way better run out of La Source. Look at that. Jack Keithley really missing the speed there and the momentum to bring that through the hairpin. He can probably make a move now under the slipstream.
Absolutely, and he is pushing for that position, and for a top 5, that's an important position here between 6th and 5th. It's all for glory, but that's one that you definitely want a bit of traffic as well from the Scuderia Chicken House as well as they come in. There's contact between the two as they're trying to muscle their way through. Liam De Waal trying to drop Jack Keithley on the Scuderia. Oh, Chicken House, and there he goes. There's the spin. Jack Keithley round rejoins the circuit down in 7th place and losing another position. Behind that as well, we've got battles between Burst Esports and Drillers Esports. A bit of a flash there from Hemmingson. Not happy with Michi Hoyer. Our focus must go to the race lead though, as coming through Blanchimont for the final time by Coles Burst Esports leading the way.
Yeah, great job across the entirety of 3 hours. Last time that they go through the chicane, and then Dennis Jordan will bring home the win for Bikerless Burst Esports. Not a very successful year in real life, but here at the virtual tracks, Bikerless Burst Esports takes the win on the very first official event at Spa. Great job, but we quickly have to jump back basically because there's still plenty of fights going on. This is once again Jack Keithley, while we see Borja Sim Racing and RHA Esports coming in for 2 and 3. And Liam De Waal will definitely be 5th because Mikko Nassi is not close enough. But Jack Keithley, he will probably get one more shot at winning a position here against Axel Sports. The team we talked about a bit earlier, because they performed so well in this tight grid, covering up the inside. Is there any way for Jack Keithley to make a move? Maybe if the run out of the chicane will be good enough. No, it isn't. Slight drift there, and with that, Axel Sports comes second, 7th for Marla Racing Team, and in between that was Pescara and 1ACO on 4th, by the way. And yeah, our leader in GTE, not through yet, but they will be soon.
But how fitting is it? How fitting is it that the outfit of Marcel Oppermans is going to depart the final corner to be victorious in GTE in the first official race in rFactor 2 at Spa? What a drive it was from Sim Racing Holland. They are moving forward in sim racing, and this is another step, another piece in the puzzle. And what a stunning event it has been from them. Perfect drives from that entire team. Beautiful, beautiful stuff.
I mean, they currently also
amazing.
They currently lead the GT category in VEC, right? So it kind of seems to be their category, at least if I remember that correctly. But that is yeah, they are, right?
Yeah.
Oh. That is the car that won the overall event. Dennis Jordan and Journey Simoncic. So that is bikerless by Burst Esports, supported by an Evolution Motorsport driver, which is Dennis Jordan, and then the Burst Esports driver, Journey Simoncic, both coming together on this car, doing a great job here. Not the quickest lap time, though, because quickest lap time went to Varga Sim Racing, who came second in this event. But impressive performance by each and everyone on this race. They finished. We didn't have many DNFs, I have to say that. I love it that everyone kept going and trying to finish this race and giving us these beautiful shots here while the sun goes down at Spa.
Stunning stuff, stunning scenes, and a stunning race that we've had with Bicoles Burst Esports leading from Varga and R8G on the podium, Monaco and Pescara in behind that top 5. Rene, it must be said, we want to see more of this because that was fantastic.
It definitely was, and you know, I'm a huge fan of those events, and I want to see more of that. And we promised that to the community that we want to establish those big endurance, let's say, major events. This didn't have a prize pool because we wanted to make it more community focused and actually being able to present the track and give people that bought the track early a chance to actually race on it and have a good event on it, because the only other event we're using it so far is the finale on GT Pro and GT Challenge. But yeah, there will be more endurance racing. We will keep on pushing to be the endurance sim out there and creating great events. I mean, the 24 hours, the virtual 24 hours of Le Mans, I think have proven that rFactor 2 is a great platform for doing so. And we will further work on that and improve the sim and generally everything, not just the graphics, also the physics and UI, as you know, and competition system. Be aware of that competition system coming soon in the first phase for public access, which will be very, very cool. Obviously, that doesn't have too much to do for now with endurance, but later on. And yeah, even more events. I mean, you're on it tomorrow as well, right? You're on it at BMW with rFactor 2. So I would say plenty of action on rFactor 2 currently available, and there will be more, that's for sure.
There's always action coming up. The official stuff from RF2 has come a long way in the last 12 months. I think that's set to continue for 2021, of course, in the Spa trailer as well. We've got that DPI that pops into shot a couple of times.
We've got more than that.
Exactly. I'd be very excited to see what content's coming out. I think we're in for a good 2021.
Definitely. I mean, there are more cars to come. And I can tell you that besides the DPI, there is a car that I was asked for multiple times, also today, that will find its way to the game, and we'll further work on the classes that we offer in rFactor 2 and in general, the racing that we can provide while we see beautiful Spa now in the night as we finish the Friday evening. And I have to say, everyone out there, I hope that you enjoyed the evening of racing on rFactor 2, enjoyed cheering for your favorite team and just all the crazy moves and overtaking we saw. I think everyone out there on the grids and all 3 grids today provided great action. Super proud of everyone. And yeah, thanks for actually watching. Luce, do you want to say something before we end the show?
No, I think it's been a great one. Thanks, obviously, to WTF1 And thanks to all of the drivers for putting a good race. Thanks for everyone to watching. Whoa, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks, Lewis, for actually joining us. Yep, tomorrow, don't miss BMW Sim Live with the BMW M2 Sim Cup as well on rFactor 2. You can watch us throughout the entire day by VCO. And then on Monday, we will return with the rFactor 2 GT Pro Series visiting Indianapolis for the next race in the championship. So, yeah, this is not the end of sim racing in terms of watching. So, thanks everyone for watching. Take care, and we see you next time. Bye-bye.